7:02, we'll call the meeting to order. Board norms are on the bottom of your agenda. Please take a look at those if you have any questions about conduct here. All right, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Just to add the audit report.
Yeah, we're gonna add an audit report under 10 down in financials. Any other changes to the agenda?
I would like to add another proposal to the policies for adoption.
Has it been through the policy committee?
It is not.
It would need to go to the policy committee before it can be, and it would be just warned. The policy committee would present it to the board, and then the board would warn it, and then it has to sit for 30 days, and then we actually adopt it as a policy. That's how policy works. Do you have something written?
I sure do.
Could you please send it to the policy committee?
Sure. If it's a proposal for procedures, does that have to go through the policy committee?
The procedures are administrative, policy is board.
Yeah, that would be administrative rather than
It's
policy.
about
So
board function though.
It's about the way our meetings are run.
why don't you send the draft of it to me and the policy committee, and then the policy committee can take it up, or we can decide it's not actually a policy and it's just some systematic changes, and then we can do it that way. I mean,
would it be appropriate to if it's just systematic, could we just vote on it as a board?
If we were gonna do that, I'd rather that the board had seen it before, here it is, please vote on it. But I mean,
You want to have it on the
I guess we
agenda.
could.
That's
We're
why
supposed to have it
I
on.
emailed you. That's why I emailed you on Friday.
Right, and I asked you for details, and you said, and I said it's a policy and it needs to go to the policy committee, and then the budget pieces are under the budget. Okay, any other changes? Michael, I see your hand. You want to change the agenda for me?
I would like to request a change in the agenda. I would like to request that new business number 1 be moved up into the agenda, close to the top, so that Windham might be able to have some semblance of representation. I understand that if I were to be appointed by the board, I might not be able to vote, for instance, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't participate in the conversations. Thank you.
Yep. Any thoughts on moving that item up before the budget discussion? And I guess I have no objection to moving that. We can talk about how we deal with the resignation of Crystal. She resigned on the 29th, and this is our first meeting since then. And there's a whole procedure that we go through as a board to appoint a successor. But I have no problem moving it up. We can do the contract and put it right before the budget discussion. Okay. Okay. Student report. Maxim, what do you got for us?
Hi, how is everybody? Good, awesome. Just things going on at Leland and Gray. The sports teams, baseball and softball, entered playoffs. Both teams got a bye for the first round, and both teams hosted a quarterfinal game. The baseball unfortunately wasn't able to get the win, but it was a good game. And the softball did get the win, so tomorrow they go to Blue Mountain at 4:30 to go and hopefully win semifinals. So let's cheer them on. And then track and field just went to states. I don't exactly know how the kids did there, but I'm sure they did great. Their season has been amazing. I also know of 2 middle school students who went to
The state meet.
state meet, and they also did very well, so that's exciting. Theater, Hats Off was over this past weekend. It was actually last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I know some feedback from the community, people loved it. It was very funny, very entertaining. It was just fun to do, and fun for the community to see, so that was exciting. Band and course, the jazz band went to Burlington this past week, and they performed in the Burlington Jazz Festival. So that was incredible. There's a video of them performing on the Leland Gray Facebook page if you want to go see it. It's very, very cool. And then Honor Societies, NHS, put on rock, paper, scissors, beads last Thursday, which is a competition around school where each student gets a strand of beads, and they play rock, paper, scissors, and if you win, you get all the beads, and whoever gets all the beads throughout the whole school wins a prize. So that was exciting. That got the students a lot more amped up for field day, which student council put on field day this year. It was a lot of fun. Students enjoyed the nice 82-degree weather day. We played some kickball and had 9 square and musical chairs and all sorts of fun things. So that was fun. And then prom was this last May. It was a very cool, very well done put on prom. Students loved it. It was a great way for all the high school students to get together. So that's exciting. The upcoming junior class, so my class just started actually having prom committee meetings, and we're starting the process of planning our prom for next year, so that's in process. I think that's all I have, so that's what's going on.
Yes, sir.
I want to amend the student report.
Gee, okay.
I'm not a student, but I want to talk about one. Our very own student member, Maxon here, submitted his name to be on the State Board of Education. They took 50 applicants, I'm told, and selected 2. And guess who is now on the State Board of Ed for a 2-year term? I'm 99.99% sure there's never been a student from Leland Gray on the State Board of Ed before. But I'm looking at Emily and
Yeah,
I can't think of anyone.
Not recalling one.
No, not in my time either.
But
So
well deserved.
pretty cool, and we look forward to hearing how that plays out for you in your 2-year term. So
Thank you.
congrats, man.
Very cool. Thank you. All right. Public comment. This is a chance to speak to something that's either on the agenda or not on the agenda. It's not really question and answer. It's more just bringing stuff to our attention, making a statement. If you have it in writing and you email it to me, I would be happy to enter it into the record as correspondence for the rest of the world. And so that's it. I'll start in the room. I see one hand back there. Go ahead, Keith.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Keegan Eaker. I'm a teacher here and a resident of Jamaica, and I have a prepared statement. I'm not used to talking to grown-ups, so pardon my nervousness. There's been a great deal of discussion lately around contracts and salaries and budgets. And community members have requested documents, and those documents have found their way onto social media. And they've been picked apart, criticized, and debated by people who often know very little about the work that goes behind those numbers. And last week, a request was made for every teacher and administrative contract within the West River Education District, every single one. And I admit, I wondered why. I wondered what motivated someone to look so closely at the earnings of their neighbors. I wondered what was hoped to be found in this type of research. But more than that, I felt really hurt. Because when our profession is reduced to spreadsheets and line items and dollar amounts, it's difficult not to wonder whether our value is being measured solely by what we cost rather than what we contribute. So I decided to just answer this question directly. You wanted to know what I make. Well, in short, I make a difference. I make young people believe that they are capable when they have spent years convincing themselves that they are not. I make reluctant readers finish books they never thought they would enjoy. I make history come alive through the voices of people who lived it. I make classrooms where students feel safe enough to ask questions, make mistakes, and grow. I make room for every child, including the ones who struggle to find where they belong. I make confidence out of uncertainty. I make opportunities for students to discover talents they didn't know they had. I make lessons before the sun rises and grade assignments long after the sun goes down. I make phone calls home when a family needs support. I make time for students who need someone to listen. I make accommodations for learners who need a different path for success, and I make field trips happen. I make clubs run. I make school events possible. I make connections that help students feel a future beyond the walls of our building. I make young people better writers, stronger thinkers, and more informed citizens. I make hundreds of decisions every day that affect the lives of children. I make mistakes, and I make improvements. I make memories that students carry with them for decades. I make a commitment to other people's children as though they were my own. I make sacrifices that never appear on a contract, and I make a profession out of caring for people. And when my students become nurses and carpenters and mechanics and soldiers and business owners and artists and engineers and parents and teachers themselves, I make a small contribution to every success that they achieve. So yes, you can look at my contract and you can calculate my salary and you can place a dollar figure next to my name. But understand that what I make cannot fully be captured on a spreadsheet, because every day I make a classroom into a community, and I make possibility where there was doubt, and I make hope where there was frustration, and I make a difference. And I would hope that before reducing educators to numbers on a page, that we remember the true return on this investment is not found in a budget document. It's found in the lives of the children that we are all here to serve. So, if you could kindly keep that in mind when you're talking about school budgets, we're here to serve the children. You've been elected by your communities to develop a budget that serves children. And if you're curious about budget development, you've hired people that understand how school finance works. I'm a taxpayer in Jamaica, where the property taxes are pretty high, and I work here. So I feel it on both ends. Do the work that's good for the kids, and let us do the work that's good for the kids too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the first one online? Chrissy Haskins?
Hi, thank you. Chrissy Haskins from Jamaica. Thank you for the discussion at the May 27th meeting regarding the possibility of exploring future governance structures and educational models within West River Education District. I appreciate the board's consideration of these important topics and would encourage a thorough and open evaluation of all viable options as planning moves forward. I would, however, like to clarify several points that were raised during that meeting. First, I want to respond to the statement that it is difficult to plan when no one wants to lose a school or embrace change. As you all know, Jamaica has already experienced that loss. Jamaica residents are not resisting change, and we are no longer trying to save our local school. Rather, we are asking to explore whether a different regional alignment or governance structure would better serve our students and community moving forward. Second, while I appreciate the statement that 17 different governance models were previously discussed, many residents continue to feel that meaningful alternatives were never seriously pursued or fully developed into actionable proposals, especially for grades 7 through 12. Revisiting these conversations should not be viewed as repetitive or unreasonable, given the continued financial challenges, declining enrollment, repeated budget failures, significant legislative changes, and growing dissatisfaction across the district. Similarly, the statement that the board previously voted, possibly unanimously, not to close Leland and Gray oversimplifies the issue. The current discussion is about evaluating whether the present educational and governance structure remains sustainable and whether other models, including tuition in grades 7 through 12 or regional partnerships, may provide stronger long-term outcomes for students and taxpayers. Those are reasonable questions for any district facing continued financial enrollment pressures and legislative changes. I agree that comparisons to other schools and outcomes would be valuable, and I would welcome a data-driven discussion about educational quality, student opportunity, long-term sustainability, and post-secondary outcomes across different governance and tuitioning models. Those conversations should include both educational and financial metrics, so communities can make informed decisions based on evidence rather than assumptions. Finally, I think it's important to acknowledge that the repeated rejection of the red budget signals broader concerns within the district. These votes reflect more than a resistance to change. In many communities, they represent frustration with a governance structure that residents increasingly feel is not responsive to their concerns or aligned with their priorities. As these conversations continue, I hope the board can approach them with openness and without dismissing alternative viewpoints as simply opposition to change. Many residents are asking legitimate questions about what structure will best serve students over the long term, particularly after years of consolidation, program loss, school closures, and what might lie ahead with the state's redistricting and regionalization priorities. One last item on a slightly different topic. It is great to be transparent about the communication policy with the board and board members, but that does not get the public answers to their questions. There needs to be more response to questions and more discussion with the public. This board's model is that the public can only speak for a short duration at the beginning of the meeting, and then board discussions are held and decisions made with no further public input. I attend a lot of select board meetings, and I can assure you that select boards all over Vermont are fully capable of allowing for meaningful public participation throughout their meetings on each agenda item. Why is this not possible at the school board meeting also? And just as a note, I will send a copy of these comments to the board for inclusion in correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Go ahead.
I'm Siobhan McDermott and I'm from Jamaica, and I am applauding our teachers and my objection to the way the school budget has been handled, and the lack of transparency has nothing to do with the teachers. It has to do with the fact that we're requesting information and numbers. I don't need to see this person's salary or another person's salary. I work in the nonprofit sector and I do budgets that are incredibly complex, and you can withdraw someone's name and still explain where dollars are going, where benefits are being paid, where programs are being spent or cut. The lack of transparency makes a lot of us question why someone doesn't want to show us where all of the numbers are coming from. And it's not because we doubt our teachers, it's because we doubt the transparency of the board. So we, and I represent a lot of my neighbors, demand much more transparency and much more accountability to us, the taxpayers. We've sort of had enough in Jamaica, and we're pretty irritated by the fact that we've voted down 2 budgets, and yet it comes back with another massive increase. That is mind-blowing to us, and we are not accepting it.
Thank you. Next one, Crystal.
First of all, I want to thank Michael Pelton for stepping into my seat. I know his time is limited, so I really appreciate that he did that. I do want the board and the public to know I never abused my board seat. I never threatened a teacher's job. I stood up for my child who has a medical 504. You can look at her and you can think that is a perfectly healthy child. The reality is that child is very much in a life or death situation. So I've had a lot of lectures lately about respecting the faculty and the staff at Leland and Gray. But what people don't know is my child, who can't walk up a hill, has to witness staff members having an absolute temper tantrum because she parks in the teacher's parking lot because it's what her health allows. We have really been through a lot lately and not supported in this unbelievably unexpected medical journey that is very much life or death. I never once threatened a teacher's job. I did, however, stand up for my student who needed me to, and board members, even if they are parents, need to be allowed to stand up for their kids when they need us to. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kaya. I'm a parent from Newfane. I was looking at the agenda today and I saw the staff changes and updates like thing, and I was reading through that and I was trying to look at the numbers to try to understand why some of them are so different, which is, the whole budget thing, and how at that last meeting it was, oh, hey, we actually have to add another 300,000 to the budget that we weren't expecting because we hired new people. Understandable. Different people have different experience levels, therefore their salaries are different. Benefits, that all makes sense. However, some of these numbers don't make sense. The one that really, confused me, because there isn't any explanation, and I hope there is explanation tonight, is down under other. It says like elementary, and then it says an e-finance issue, a glitch with 2 elementary positions at $144,000. Like, that's a glitch for 2 positions. Where is that coming from? Why is that there? And how can we just say, oh, it's a glitch, now we have to add, $150,000 back into the budget? What is that? Can we have explanation? And then under benefits make sense. The pre-K, the elementary, and then SEC, I wasn't really sure what SEC stood for, so I was kind of confused. And then up to the actual salaries. And I was looking at that and very confused as to what's happening to the kindergarten teacher at Townsend, because the one that's been there for the past 2 years, I thought was doing an absolutely fantastic job now that I have my second child is finishing up his year with her. And it's jumping almost $40,000 for that position. That's like what I make in a year is $40,000. So how are we going from one teacher to another in the exact same position and like adding a whole other person to that? Like, why is there such a drastic change in the salary, not the benefits? And then the library for the WR all, I was confused because for the FY26 salary, it's 62,500, or 62.5, and then it jumps for the new year, the 89, which I know we're changing you guys are changing the way the library is done for this, the school area, because we had the one half-time teacher for the library who did the 2 elementary schools, and then the one full-time here at the high school. And we're moving into we have one full-time librarian for all 3 schools, plus a para-educator for like 2 or 3 days when they're not here. So I'm curious as to if this 62,000, is that the 1 library staff, not the 1.5 library staffs? That is now all just the 1 staff? So I was trying to figure out where and how that correlates to, it's 1.5 positions, now it's 1 position, but they are making, almost, or $26,000 more than just the 1. So is that really, the math isn't mathing for that. And then I was confused on the asterisk for social worker because there's no explanation of the asterisk. And typically, when we have asterisks, we have explanations on the bottom in fine print. So I was just curious about that. Had other questions written on my paper, hold on. Oh yeah, so my other thing was, so we see here that these positions got, they were empty or somehow empty. We rehired people. Where did the staff that was doing the pre-K at Jamaica get absolved into? I would think if we closed down them, that those staff would we'd have that money back in our budget. but I haven't heard anything about that money coming back into the budget. So I was just kind of curious of where the Jamaica staff went. Where are they in the budget? And if they got put into new positions, just curious of where'd they go. And then I had another question, but I don't know where it went, so I guess that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. I think all of that can be addressed during the budget discussion. Okay, back online. Alicia, Carrie? I was like, Casey? I don't know.
No.
Hi, my name's Alicia Carey. I am a Townsend resident. I'm also the social worker at Leland and Gray. I am the asterisk on that page there.
Hello.
I too had noticed a flaw on that, and that it's stating that I get a $13,812 raise for next year. I really wish that were true. It is not. I am only getting a $5,415 raise. I am simply moving to the next step. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody in the room? Then back to the board.
Patty Reedy.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a Jamaica taxpayer, and as you know, we already pay considerably more than other towns in this district. After 2 failed budget votes, new contracts were signed, adding $300,000 in spending with no written explanation and only a partial accounting. When asked for details, the answer was to file a public information request just to see how our money is being spent. This isn't about teachers or staff, it's about public trust. We were shown a budget with no mention of this money, and now we're asked to approve it after the fact. Clearly, the board doesn't trust that their decisions would meet the approval of the public, or they would be willing to share this information. We deserve straight answers, not another vote to cover a bill that we were never shown. Thank you.
Thank you.
I remember what it was.
Okay.
So hi, I'm Kaya from Newfane. Last week, some of the Newfane and Brookline representatives from the board met at the fire station, and I had thought of a really cool idea, and I expressed it with them, but I wanted to share it with everybody here to make sure everyone hears it. A lot of people have said that communication about, when things are happening for budget votes or just when board meetings are happening, no one knows, and they're not seeing it because maybe they don't, they don't look at Facebook, or they are not computer people. They don't do all that fancy tech stuff, but they do drive by because they, work out of town. We have those really cool yard signs that I see people put up for like their graduates or different things going on, or, campaigning for politics and all that crap. Why not have a board meeting sign of that, like that you put in your yard, that can be put out in front of different buildings, like the superintendent's office, or in front of the schools, in front of the, the local store, in the common in Newfane and Townsend, so that people driving by on their ways to work can be like, oh, hey, look, there's a board meeting tonight. I want to try to make it to that. Or, hey, there's going to be a board meeting this week. I want to go. There's a vote this week. Let's go to that. And they can see it on their drive by when they're stuck in traffic for, the road construction that always is happening on our wonderful Route 30. But a sandwich sign, I get them at Staples. They're fairly cheap. I don't know if we could have, the board do something like that people can put out, because Front Porch Forum, who's gonna do it? It's not gonna get to the right towns. Just stick it out in the yard. People want something they can visually see with their eyes, not on a computer screen, because we have enough of that. Put it in the yard. Drive by, you see it. Great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that does it for public comment. Okay. All right, we'll go to the Windham board member resignation. So, as I said, and Crystal talked about, she had resigned on the 29th. I can look and find the email, 28th, 29th, somewhere in there. We had 5 days to notify the select board, but the chair emailed us shortly after Crystal's resignation, so obviously they were informed. The process now is we have 30 days to, as a board, appoint a successor for Crystal's seat in consultation with the select board. We've done this at least once before with Jamaica, and we had a brief, we basically announced at the meeting and then put it out on everything we could think of that there was this vacancy, gave people a week or so to submit a letter of interest, and then evaluated the candidates with the select board in a joint meeting and then appointed a board member. That's what we've done previously. I'm open to however we want to do this time. The select board has apparently already met and put forth a candidate in Michael Pelton, the select board chair. But it's ultimately our appointment, and we need to be comfortable with the process that we go through to make sure that, people have an opportunity to apply, or we can just appoint Michael tonight and move forward. Thoughts? Emily, go ahead. Yeah,
So I'll just say I'm a big fan of having a process that we follow for something like this. But I am mindful of the timeline. Is there, I think the last time we had a budget vote, we had an information meeting, and prior to the information meeting, we had a school board meeting as well. Sort of attached to it. They were sort of attached.
right, because we had some business we had to finish up. Yeah.
So either way, we're not going to have to, we could actually do an appointment to that. I don't know when we're gonna choose for a date here. We haven't had that conversation yet, but we could do it well within, if we vote pretty quickly, we could do it well within and still make sure that we're following the process that we have in other appointments, and just making sure the community's fully noted. We have to do that even when we're appointing for members at large. So anyway.
Okay. Anybody else thoughts on the process here? Kate, you look like.
I was just gonna ask, I think it makes sense for Windham to have representation within a reasonable process, but also quickly to be represented here. And my question was just whether, if the Windham Select Board had warned that conversation, at least the Windham public saw it before they voted it. Because because I think how we proceed that makes a difference.
Michael, you want to speak to that?
Sure, I'd be glad to answer those questions. The Windham Select Board had a number of meetings in which we discussed this. We did have a warned meeting that we indicated that we are going to have this conversation and appoint somebody. We reached out to a number of individuals. I myself reached out to approximately 30 people. And at our meeting, there was a motion that I be appointed until town meeting day. So from my perspective as a select board member, we've reached out to the community. We've had several conversations with it, and we have decided that the consultation with the school board, given that we didn't receive any feedback, I actually sent an email and didn't receive any response back, is that we really need to be a part of this conversation as a community. And if we don't have representation, and that we're going to be at a disadvantage, right? That our representation isn't going to be there. So you guys are going to make a whole bunch of choices and decisions without the input from our particular community. So we moved forward because we felt it needed to move forward. Thanks.
Thanks. Lindsay, go ahead.
Thanks. I believe that in the past, when we have the process that you spoke to, Joe, that we did not have a suggestion from the select board that there was not something already presented to us in those past cases, and that we as a board said, hey, world, we're looking for candidates, as opposed to, in this case, the town saying we have already chosen one. And that being said, I believe that Windham gets to vote. Personally, I'm with Windham. Whoever they choose is up to them as far as I'm concerned. And it seems that they have gone through quite the process to decide who they think is best to fill the position in the meantime. And I certainly wouldn't want to step on their toes. And I agree that Michael, what he said, that they do need representation. So I would encourage us to appoint him as soon as possible.
True.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we appoint Michael Pelton to the vacated Windham board seat. It seems to me that Windham's already gone through a process and provided us the name, so I don't know that asking them to go through that process again would yield us any different outcomes. So my motion is to appoint Michael Pelton to the open Windham board seat.
I will second it.
Okay. Do you, as the motion maker, want to speak to the motion any further?
All set.
Dana? Okay. I just want to point out that the process is actually under statute our process, not Windham's. It is our responsibility in consultation with the board. So as long as we feel that we've gone through, that the process, that we feel that there's enough going on here that we're comfortable with this appointment, then, we're good. Okay, anybody else want to speak to this? Leanne?
It's just one question I have. I mean, and I believe Windham should be hugely involved and get their selection, because if this were just the end of a term at town meeting, it would be done solely by Windham.
Mm-hmm.
But given Michael's position in Windham, that's my only concern. It's not, there's no incompatibility between serving on select board and school board. Just want to double check that.
You can do
Nope.
both.
Perfect. Just wanted to be reassured of that.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor, please.
Thank you. So,
Go ahead.
what Michael just said about the term, he would serve through the end of, till town meeting, like in a normal situation.
Right.
Even though that's not the end of the 3-year term, they would then elect someone to finish out that 3-year term. And then from there, so.
That's statute.
That's the statute, yeah.
Right, and we don't then lose the stagger.
Yeah, so you're only
elections.
appointing him through town meeting day.
Through next
He could
month.
choose to rerun at that point and fill out the rest of the 3 years, but.
I think the statute actually, somebody else in the room might know this, but I think the statute actually says, or until the next
District meeting.
district meeting,
Yeah.
right? Or next town meeting where a vote would take place. But that's
If they could do a
likely to
special
be town
meeting,
meeting.
they could do a different special.
Right,
meeting
if they
to
had
do
a
that.
special election or something, they could do it there.
Sorry.
Yep. Was that a question?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm all set.
All right, any others? All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. He still needs to get sworn in, right?
Correct.
So you need to see your town clerk and get sworn at.
I will absolutely do that first thing as soon as they're open. I would ask that
Yes.
I be allowed to speak, but I assume that I would not be allowed to vote.
Correct, you can contribute, but you can't vote, sorry. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Windham Transportation Contract. I got that this afternoon. There actually is. It was an existing contract. It's been modified and given back to us.
Well, sorry.
You wanna go, please?
Yeah, it was actually not a contract previously. There was an understanding and there was a set amount of money that you guys paid Windham to transport secondary students here. At the request of Windham, they asked to have that money increased. We looked at the formula, or Heidi looked at the formula that Lori Garl had developed initially and came up with a new formula that provided them with more income based on that. So it cost you guys a little bit more, but it was more reasonable probably comparatively based on mileage costs and fuel costs and all those things have gone up. You guys already voted on this contract and approved it. It's actually, I think while Drew was chair, Drew signed it. It was sent to Windham for their signature. They did not sign it. They went to an attorney to get it reviewed. So what you have now is their updated version of that. And Joe has some minor highlights in yellow that I made to show him what some of the differences are. But it is a different contract than what you guys had agreed to sign earlier. Not in substance in the set of the cost or the amount or any of that, but just some of the language and details. So
Yeah, the two things.
so you would have to redo it, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, the two pieces that have changed have been added to. Go ahead.
Sorry, do we have copies of that? I don't think it was.
It was, no, this wasn't even emailed, this.
This came in very, very late today.
Did Abby email it to the whole board, I think?
I don't know, I got it.
I think Abby emailed it to the whole board. Yes. So you did get, I have a copy, I have two copies here. Really the differences in this contract from the one that we've already signed, is that the routes in this are approved jointly by the Windham Town School District and the WCSU. Previously, it was just the WCSU was approving the routes. And there's a clause added that in the event that the Windham Town School District should change the supervisory union of which it is a member, this agreement shall become null and void at the time when the transition occurs. That's really it. I'm not sure those modifications are worth arguing about.
It doesn't really change
Yeah.
what we had originally agreed to, and some
Yeah.
wording changes.
The SU is mentioned only because the driver is no longer an employee of Wyndham after they closed. He became an employee of the SU, and we billed him back for that. So that's why the SU is connected to it in that regard. Otherwise, it would just be an agreement between two districts.
So I have copies here if anybody wants to read the whole thing.
Is it already on the agenda?
Yeah,
It
right there.
is. Sorry, right.
It's been on the agenda for
Just
like
the new one.
6 meetings.
Forgive me, just the new one.
Keep tabling it.
Right.
I'm sorry?
We keep tabling it.
Well, this is,
tabling
the
it.
contract had finally come back.
Yeah.
We were waiting to get it back, so now it's back.
Need a motion?
Yeah, we just need a motion to approve the contract and direct the chair to sign.
I make motion that I direct the chair of the board to sign the contract, transportation contract for Wyndham.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Anything you want to say about it, Dana?
Nope.
Dan?
Sign it.
All right. All in favor of approving the transportation contract and having it signed, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we have a contract. Okay. Back to the budget discussion. We can do that. Yeah, I was gonna say, you wanna start with the document that generated all the questions? That, you pick a person to walk through it, but
Well, I'll
please.
start it and just, I want to recap the last meeting. As you guys were coming back to meet the first time after the second vote. What I said to the board was that you had good news, I had bad news. The good news was that the yield was trending towards the Senate version, which meant a fuller buy down by the general fund, which meant a bigger break in taxes based on whichever budget you put forward. So that was good news for taxpayers. And what I said was that the bad news was that they're based on some things that had happened, some hiring that had occurred, that there was an estimated about $300,000 in funds that were not budgeted that had to do with staffing changes that we had. And so this was a very, just to give you the context behind the scenes, is that Heidi was going on vacation. She was getting her daughter Mary off and was, trying to head out. And so it gave me this number. I presented to you guys. And then at the time there was some questions about what's included. I didn't have all the information. I said that. I said Heidi would be able to speak to this. We'd have a presentation at the next time. You guys were not adopting a budget, it seems, at that time. I also gave the board the option, you didn't have to include that in the budget. It's just an option. You could operate a budget that you knew was going to be a little bit off because budgets change and they're fluid by nature. I was told actually that in previous years, previous business managers and superintendents wouldn't have even brought something forward, that they may have known about some changes in staffing, but they wouldn't have brought it forward for that reason, because the budget will play itself out and there might be other savings other places. And so I made the decision to bring it forward to you guys anyways because of the conversation about transparency and the conversations about accusations that things were happening behind the scenes that were not being shared. The intent of sharing this information was not to try to trick people or show that there was money that we had just discovered, but to actually be more forthcoming around the numbers. So we have a budget that when you run the actuals and move it into the budget, that we have new information that we didn't have the first time. And that's what I was trying to share. That got spun, I understand, in the community, that we were trying to hide something. Just want to be clear, the opposite is true. We were trying to share more information and be more transparent, okay? Now, since that time, Heidi's returned and dug into it a little bit more to figure out what exactly she had. And so I think I'm gonna let her talk a little bit about some of those differences and the asterisks and all the stuff, and then you guys can figure out what you want to do with it. Still on you to figure out how you want to deal with it, but I'll let her talk a little more about it.
So as the board knows, contracts come in the middle of May for certified staff. And so in light of the fact that we had a failed budget, I was taking the opportunity to go through line by line in my module on eFinance to make sure that I was putting in correct numbers, because I want to know what the bottom line is with the amount of changes. In the process of doing that, what I found two things. When we have an employee that had a leave of absence for a period of time this year, and when that salary got pulled into my budget module, it brought in the reduced salary, not her contracted salary. So that is why there's a bigger difference in that number. The other problem I found is with eFinance, that software system is not the best. It has glitches, and every year we have updates through the eFinance program, as we did this year. And for some reason, two employees, one who's been with the district for years and another one who came in partway through the year, was defaulting the salaries to zero every time I pulled in the information. And I hadn't caught it. It was pulling in the benefits, and I worked on it, and I ended up having to delete both records and start from square one because there was no reason for it. It certainly is something I didn't anticipate. And when I dug into it and realized the problem, I've put in some support calls to the company. They have not been able to figure out why it did that. It's extremely frustrating on my end, but it is what it is. What I will say is, Bob and I really felt like, because the board has wanted transparency, it is an opportunity to give more accurate information. Had the budget passed on the first or the second vote, it wouldn't have mattered. First of all, because it's going to continue to be fluid through the rest of the fiscal year. People come, people leave, depending on where they fall on a salary schedule, depending on the education and experience, they're at different levels. And in the end, we figure it out. For the current fiscal year, I've been saying that we're probably going to be about 200,000 deficit, because we had planned on using 253,000 of reserve funds, but it didn't get put on the warning, so we weren't able to transfer that money. However, now that we're getting to the end of the fiscal year, we are getting closer to having a balanced budget than I thought we would be. And one, it's because of changes. Two, it's things don't get spent as anticipated when we budget it. And so I'm feeling really good about that. Also, we have asked the voters to approve using reserve funds for this coming year, and the amount that we're using to help reduce the tax rate will also cover this, so you won't run a deficit even passing the current budget that we have put forth that has failed the last 2 times. So one, I was clear with Bob that I felt it was important to bring forth the changes based on accurate information that was found. I didn't know all the ins and outs before I went on vacation. I was just plugging in current numbers based on the amount of employees that we have had that have chose to leave and that we've had to RIF and that are moving in. I'm doing it with all the school districts. Most of them, all of them, other than this one, have passed budgets, and it all comes out by the end of the year, we figure it out. There is no goal of mine to try to hide that or not be transparent. I have no goal in trying to surprise the board with employees that weren't there or are being overpaid. There are limitations sometimes to this finance program. I do want to mention, this is not the first and it will not be the last glitch. I will continue to look closer for glitches, but we use eFinance. We're one of the minority districts in this SU. We're one of the minority SUs in the state using eFinance because it is free. The state pushed it back on when we moved into this in 2020. They paid for the implementation and they're paying yearly for us to use it. School districts that have gone, or supervisor unions with a different program, are paying around $60,000 a year for a different financial program. I've talked to many business managers at different VASBO meetings, and there's no perfect program. They all have glitches. This was a very unfortunate glitch. I am embarrassed by it, but even eFinance is struggling to figure out why it happened. So putting all the cards on the table, not trying to hide anything, I am going to recommend, or I would recommend, going with the lower budget because you're not going to gain anything by adding in this additional $275,000 when you're already using reserve funds to buy down the tax rate. But I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Well, let me come back to some of the questions that were answered, just because I think there are some things I want to throw out there as well. So I think we've addressed, without getting into individual people, the asterisk, I think was explained as part of her explanation just a moment ago. And then I would say that there have been, part of the challenge that we have seen and heard about publicly is that people are confused why we signed contracts without a budget. Well, the collective bargaining agreement has dates. They require us to have contracts offered by April 15th, due back by May 15th. How that's connected to the vote is they're two separate things. Some CBAs can have language in it that can push off that date based on a failed vote. The one for West River does not have that provision. So that is your CBA. You guys ratified it with the association. And so we don't have an option of when we submit those contracts. We're tied by that document. That being said, part of the reductions that were made, and so I'm gonna try to hit you here, Kylie, ready? Some of the reductions that were made, like the pre-K teacher in Jamaica, that savings has already been reflected in the budget. It's already been reduced. And what you saw in the bottom line already has that built in. What you're seeing, though, in places, and I'm trying to be vague because there's individual people involved, is that a staff member whose position is eliminated, speaking generally, may have recall rights because their position has been eliminated to bump another employee. And since seniority is a major factor in that, when you bump another employee, often, because seniority has, earnings are tied to seniority, the person that you're bumping is lower paid than the person who is doing the bumping. So what you might see is you save some money over here by reducing a program at JVS, but the teacher bumps somebody else, and then you see a budget salary go up because of that RIF, if that makes sense. So without getting into names of which ones, I think I've been vague enough, but also you read between the lines what I'm saying. So that's why you see some of the things that you see. The library one is just the full-time professional position. The para position is already in the budget as is. As was.
Yeah,
the original budget, the second budget that you guys already voted on. The difference in salary here is simply a hiring difference. So based on someone who is relatively new to someone who's really veteran. And that is the difference, that is the gap from top to bottom.
I guess that part with the library thing though is for the 2026 year, there was 2 people in the library. Like,
So the savings of the halftime person has already been reflected in your budget. That is not reflected here.
okay.
This is the full-time one who was remaining, who we anticipated to be taking the position, but then who resigned for personal reasons after the fact. And so we had to hire a new librarian. So that's what you're seeing there. There's a 1 FTE, it's simply a staffing change. The half has already been taken out and that savings has been reflected in the previous version of the budget.
The 4th grade teacher, Bob, is that a step up in the schedule?
Yes, you had a replacement mid-year.
Could you just give like a little, little primer on steps and columns? I think that's
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that
as well.
Yeah, your CBA, your contract with the teachers has their salaries are based on a grid of 2, an X and a Y axis, if you will, years of service going down and education levels going across. So you start sort of at the top left. If you're a bachelor's degree, first year teacher, you're at even though it's at the top of the schedule, they call it the bottom of the schedule because it's the lowest pay rate. And as you get experience, you go down steps or up steps because money's going up. Just the way they have it set up. And as you get more education, more credits, and more degrees, you go across. So you could have people who are gaining a step and moving across simultaneously. All right. The contract specifies that those people have to notify us in December. So those we would probably have in the budget built in because we would know about those in advance.
Yeah.
But anyway, so as they move down those steps. People move diagonally across as they get steps and more education. But if a person was like here, and then you hired their replacement down here, that difference in salary you have to pay. And then, in addition to that, you have the benefits package, which again we have a total. We didn't get into the details of the weeds, but if you hire someone, you have someone on a single plan, and the new person has a family plan, well, that costs more. So built into this might be some that went the opposite direction as well. Like you could see the band went the opposite direction of salary. So you can see there are usually, as I said in the last meeting, often half of them go up, half of them go down. It kind of works itself out. This year, that did not work itself out. They mostly all went up. And that also contributed to the $83,000 difference.
Great for kids though.
Yeah, well, what you're seeing, and I said this last time too, is that you have more experience and you have more educated teachers that you're hiring because the pools are getting a little bit better than they had been in previous years. And so you're providing that level of care for your kids as well. It just costs more. But that's the contract. It's not, when they come in with their years of experience and their education, they get placed on a step, and that's what we pay them. So there's no negotiation. They get what they get based on where they are. So, does that help?
Just more for everybody else to understand. So yeah, for example, if you see a line item and it went up 12%, why is that? Well, maybe they moved down a step and across a column.
Yeah.
Or
well, they could move a couple of columns if they didn't put in the column request the year before, but they earned their master's that year and they could move 2 columns in 1 year. Yeah, but that happens. Right?
That can all change in like May, most of the time when they graduate.
Well, they have to notify us of the column changes in December.
Okay.
So we know those, we build the budget with those.
But they only have to tell us if they're leaving by May 15th. I mean, that's when they don't sign their contract.
Correct, that date is different,
Go ahead.
And so for folks that would like to see this, the contract is called a master's agreement and it is publicly put on.
It's on the website.
It's on the website. I believe it's under resources.
Yeah, if you go to, I forget what the first tab is up top, but you go into the HR and there's a district employees thing, but it's public. You don't have to be an employee to see it, but it's all there, and you have the agreement for teachers in this district, which covers the SU employees, the special ed teachers as well. You have your River Valley's contract in there. You have your handbook in there for handbook employees, like our office staff and folks like that.
Or
And
paraeducators.
your paraeducators contract, which we'll be talking about tonight, is also there, the old one. So yeah, there's all those contracts there. We have to operate off of all those things, and they're all different. Yeah, Central Office, Human Resources, Master Agreements and Handbooks. There's your line there. Thank you, Scotty. So it's all public facing.
No, no.
Go ahead.
It's just kind of in the same with that, like as it, you have that specific schedule on how the years in education gets there a set price. Is that the same when it comes to all the different directors of different areas? Do they have a similar like salary picked off that, like, you know,
That's teachers.
someone who's been working, you know, waste management for however many years, are they gonna get a better pay for being a custodian because, you know, the years and
I hear what you're saying.
experience levels?
Yeah, so people that are in the support staff agreement, so paras, kitchen staff, custodians, IT staff, they don't have it scheduled that way, they have a range of hourly pay. And so a supervisor, when hiring them, can go work within that range, and we try to do that based on experience. So someone with less experience, you put at the bottom. Someone with more experience, you want to put closer to the middle or higher end of that range. Those are ranges, but that's based on that agreement as well.
I guess I use custodial as just a placeholder, but I'm saying like all the different directors that are like higher up.
Administration
on
is
that.
not a union,
They
so
don't have,
it's not unionized, so there is no agreement in that sort. So those are usually just driven by negotiation and market prices.
I'm just trying to get a better understanding of why numbers, if there's no like distinct, these people have this education and this much experience, they should be at this range. Similar to that of teachers and having this schedule.
It's not a union, that's the difference. There's no contract, there's no master agreement.
Why aren't they? Legislation people, like there's just.
Not legislation.
I'm just curious
And
as to why there
and
isn't.
some districts do, they just have to vote to join.
Oh, well, I think our district should do that so that we can like cap things. And
Then
then
it's a
voters,
negotiated agreement after that, right?
So I don't know if that covers all the information about this, but again, I just want to reiterate, this was an attempt to be more transparent, not less, despite what people are saying publicly and on Facebook. This was an attempt for us to be really clear about what new information we had since the last time we had talked that could potentially have budgetary implications for you. So.
Thank you. Have a question?
I just was gonna say, I think that's really helpful, and thank you both. I know it's not easy, Heidi, especially you're just back. I don't know if other questions like this, kind of technical questions, have come up in the conversations or things that like, if this is the right time to answer and just explain more of how things work. I defer to you, Joe, but like if this is a time to talk a little bit more about what administrators do, because that's, or maybe you wanna say, but we keep coming back to the question, like, not even just about numbers, but like, what people do. We can, I defer to you if you want to do it later, but that might be helpful in the same spirit for folks to understand.
Well, the administrators are in a different budget than the one we're trying to pass. We pay a piece of that. We can certainly have that conversation and explain some of that. And those documents were published and put out at the WCSU meeting rather than the WRED meeting.
You have principals and
those are your principals are the only administrators in our budget, right? Sorry, thank you. I forgot you guys. I'm sorry.
I think I would like to just mention though that the SU people are working for more than just West River. And I think that is a common misconception, at least lately with a lot of the social media going around, that we're not just working for West River, we're working for 5 school districts. We're doing all the financials for 5 school districts as well as the main WCSU budget. And I think there's a lot of people that think that we're paid to just come and do this once in a while. So I would just like to take the opportunity to be clear that there's a lot more that we're doing than just what's happening for West River. We're juggling 6 boards, we're juggling 6 different budgets, we're juggling all those audits, we're juggling all of that at the same time. And so it can be very challenging, it's certainly very time consuming, and I'm happy to talk to anybody that ever wants to make an appointment and come in and see me, and I'm happy to show them what I do.
If
Go
this
ahead.
isn't the moment, can we make time to talk, like in this, it's helpful for me, and I'm a board member, just to hear you all talk about what you do. I wanna be clear, I haven't seen any social media, so my question had nothing to do, wasn't, like, it's an honest question of helping folks understand. I find these explanations helpful, and if we aren't gonna do it now, can we find a time? I believe there are a lot of like just good faith questions about how things work in the larger community, and it would be really nice to provide like a non-confrontational forum to ask and answer.
Sure.
It's good facts.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo Kate, actually, it was one thing that had come up with one of our community discussions was people not understanding the overall structure and trying to come up with some sort of document, possibly even for the website, you know, a quick one pager, if you can even explain all of that in one page.
We'll put you in charge of making it that simple.
But no, just some
I
sort
get
of
it.
guideline of the flow of how things work, because it is not known.
Yeah.
If we could maybe discuss
just
that on a
think about
future
it.
agenda.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I'm like, man, I wouldn't want to be the one trying to do the org chart for this whole thing. Like, well, this goes here.
We have an org chart for the SU.
Yeah, we do have an org chart for
But
the
one that
SU.
would make,
Yeah.
without
No, I
knowing
mean-
anything, would make sense to someone.
The district structure, we have a chart. We also have an org chart of the people in the SU, but I mean, we have an org chart as well of the sort of bubble map of the
Yeah.
districts as well. I can share out.
That's on the website.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, it's on, because it was given at West River, at a WCSU meeting,
okay.
so it'd be part of the document.
Can you put them all on the website? Just like.
We're proud.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of
Well,
where and how it
yeah,
looks.
we'll
but
figure out.
We could figure something
even
out.
Put them in. Put them in the minutes of this meeting. So because we're talking about this org chart and we want to get that, and it's at least a place to start the discussion. We can put it on a future agenda to kind of run through it.
Yep.
But that way people can look at it for the next time period and maybe have questions or like specific. I don't understand how this. But yeah, that would be helpful. Go ahead, Kate.
I'm gonna dig my heels in a little bit just because it's been my general sense that these kinds of questions are part of our community's budget discussion. So the more we can have these post haste, like quickly, and share this information. Lindsay, I thought, made a great suggestion at our last meeting that we find a way to take community questions and post them and provide written answers. That gives time to like do the homework or provide the information. I know we're on a tight timeline, but I want to encourage us to like hear questions and answer them. I think that, I haven't seen any of the social media stuff, so I can't talk about what's going on there, but I have heard a lot of like, I believe good faith, I don't get how this works, and the more we can share, I think it benefits all of us, but I would ask that we do it or provide a forum for that, like right away, or plan it into our budget meetings just so we can help folks really have information,
Okay. Emily, go ahead.
I appreciate all of this conversation and agree that we should and can do that. But I'd also like to add in, because I'm sort of putting my other hat on a little bit, a context around staffing levels and the challenges of replacing staff. It has been, I'm on the education committee and we hear all the time about lack of qualified candidates, both at the teaching level and at the administrative level. And it is at a point where I heard very recently that, like the day before we adjourned, that there are several, quite a few openings for, I think it was superintendent positions in the state, and people were getting no applicants or one applicant. And there was this was coming from actually your organization, the Vermont Superintendents Association, saying that they were getting very concerned about not getting applicants. And I'll put the context around it that when many years ago, when I chaired a committee to hire a superintendent here, we opened it up, as we often usually do, to the nation, and had, I think, 78 applicants. That was a number of years ago, but we really did, and that was when we hired Holden Waterman. He came from Connecticut, but we were screening candidates from all over the country at that time, and we're getting no candidates at this point in time. So just wanted to make sure that when we have this conversation, we look at the whole context of what all of this means, because I think it's really important conversation.
Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Along that lines, part of what my proposal is for board communication is around how to gather information during and before meetings and being able to share them back with the public. I would like us to be really mindful of, it's not burying them, but trying to find things in agendas is really hard. What I would suggest is that we are able to have a person who is the designee for the board to read all correspondence beforehand and summarize the questions that people have in a running document. And then during the board meeting, that person during the board meeting would document all the questions that are asked. And then at the end of the board meeting, if those questions are answered during the board meeting, that person would write the answers in there. At the end of the board meeting, we could take a look and see if there were 7 questions about the same thing, like that would become one general question. And then we could then have a task of who are the people that are going to answer these questions and by what time. Because one of the things that is frustrating to people is asking questions and then there's no time frame around when answers can happen. And some answers take a long time to kind of pull information together. But knowing when to expect an answer creates a sense of ease and comfort in terms of accountability and transparency. And so I think having that kind of a system where then that would be put up on the website, not buried in an agenda, that could be, for me, sometimes it's hard to find everything in an agenda. That could be a way that we could then be really transparent in how we collect information and how we disseminate information.
Well, there's the outline of a policy that's coming to y'all. Okay, so.
We get these passed, we'll need more to go over.
Well, these are just up for adoption, right?
Yeah.
There are a bunch of like procedures and guidelines that it would be great for them.
Okay, so from my notes from the last meeting, the spreadsheet, presentation of the variance in the budget that was discussed was the thing that we needed to have in front of us before we could start to discuss what we wanted to do in terms of putting forth a new budget. The other thing that we heard that we needed to do was on this memo that I was handing out beforehand, and if you don't have it, it's the creation of the committee to explore the structure of the district. This is the result of a meeting with Bob and the officers where we went through and we tried to figure out how this would work. And we specifically create here a committee of the board with one member from each of the 5 towns represented, and it's based on residence, not elections, so that the at-large members could serve based on their town of residence. That gives it 5 members, so you're not a quorum. We laid out a timeline and we laid out 10 things that the committee is going to undertake as their charge. Certainly we can work within this framework to come up with, to change the charge around or do whatever they want to do. Some of these things, first of all, we're going to have, it has to have a chair, it has to be organized, it has to have meetings, agenda. We figure this is probably going to happen during the day, early morning, late afternoon, or lunch hour for people, and it may meet a couple times a week to get going, or at least once a week. The hybrid option of the meeting, so you have to have a required place. Since it's during the workday, we can have that at the central office. We can have it up on a big screen in the conference room and move forward. We talked about reviewing the prior long-term planning work. I mean, there's been numerous engineering studies, feasibility studies, proposals for models that have gone, to the point of here's how they implement. Some of them have gotten to here's how we implement them and here's the savings that we predict. And some of them have been like, that's just not going to work. Some of these got tossed out pretty quickly because it just wasn't going to work. But go review that work, see if there's anything that we haven't discussed. In the thing we say that you're strongly encouraged to utilize outside resources, that is at the committee's discretion. Invite in community members, select board members, any resource you want, go get it. But it also does not say that you're going to have, a huge unwieldy committee that always has these people. You can invite who you want to into the room while you do the work that you see necessary. You also then have the power to convene the board for a special meeting if you get to a point where you need board input, rather than, we don't want to go down this path and have the board say no. Convene a board, call a special meeting of the board, get some guidance, and keep doing your work. We're hoping that we can have this put in place by October.
I don't believe that a committee can convene the full board. The full board has to.
Well, they
have
can
to
ask.
request.
Right, they can ask.
But you're saying would have the power.
Well,
and they aren't granted power.
Okay,
the board
we have to wordsmith that. The intent was
making it clear that
okay.
A committee doesn't have the power to convene the board.
Okay,
the board has
thank
power
you.
to convene the board.
Well, the intent is really to say, look, if you need this, don't
I understand
wait.
the intent.
Come, this is important. If the board has to pull together a special meeting, we will do that. Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to go through this a little bit. It got emailed this afternoon. It's sitting in front of you now. But this was another one of the conditions that we would go forth of the community. To Kate's thoughts about the community meeting discussions, I think this committee could hold community meetings as part of their charge too. We can certainly add that in there, and they want to, they can develop their own timeline for what they want to explore as well. So, yeah. Michael.
This weekend, I had the opportunity to spend about 3 hours in front of the computer and review as many documents as I could on the WRED website, to include the long-term planning documents and various agendas and so forth. And it occurs to me that these challenges have been brought up by the community for at least 6 years. There are conversations about school choice and tuitioning. There were conversations about consolidation. There were lots of conversations about the electorate's desire for dramatic restructuring. And in the last 6 years, nothing has come out of it. And I'm not saying it's the fault of the board or the committees. What I am simply saying is that for 6 years, these conversations have been kicked around in committee and they haven't gone anywhere. My, I guess I'll say request is that these conversations don't happen in committee. Enough with the committees. Things die in committees. That's how it works. Let's keep things at the board level. Let's have the conversations in the public. It'll be fully transparent. Decisions can be made if they need to be made, and they can be made in a timely fashion. If you put in a committee, you're going to wait till October. The committee will start going, and then by the time the next budget cycle comes around, nothing will have been achieved. If you continue to have the conversations in a full board, you could actually gain some traction. The reality is the electorate has spoken. They said they're not happy with the current situation. They're not happy the way things are being done. They feel like they don't have the ability to see what's happening. And if you put it in a committee, they're not going to be able to see what's happening. Keep it in a public meeting, keep it in the full board so you can move forward. Thanks.
So I just want to correct you and say that committee meetings are public. And given the scope of this work, I would estimate then we will be having 2 to 3 meetings a month for the rest of the summer for the board.
So be it.
There you go.
So be it. Otherwise, you're going to put it on 5 people who won't be able to make decisions. Put it on the board. Guess what? If the full board has to get together to have these conversations and they're sick of meeting, they will make a decision. This needs to be done. It needs to be done 6 years ago.
Go ahead,
And
Fiona.
8 o'clock, I don't know who's supposed to be able to go watch a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I don't know. Some people work, I included.
Go ahead, Fiona.
I have a question about the way the committee would be structured. Could the committee, I would, if there are no administrators as part of the committee, I would think that it would be helpful to have them not during the workday for transparency purposes and for more participation. And our committees, would all the meetings be warned? Are the
Yes.
committee meetings be warned?
Yes.
Are there minutes
Yes.
taken? And it's open to the public?
Yes.
And
Okay,
recorded.
And recorded.
Great.
And that would be done by having the central office be the hybrid meeting spot. So
Okay.
that would be, the place to go and watch it on Zoom and participate if you want to be physically there. The committee would not have administrators as a member, but I am sure the committee would want to use central office staff and others as resources. And part of making that public would be, probably having somebody from the administration there most of the time. Go ahead.
I'm still processing this. I think we're gonna have to do committees and full board work, like a lot of it to get where we need to go. The backdrop for this that I hope we will talk about as a board, and that I hope we'll have some more informational presentations about, is the radically now changed education and education funding landscape, as of last week. So we have to act in a way that I wish we didn't, but I think that it frames long-term planning really differently. I will say, I just for what it's worth, I think we have to turn things around.
Go ahead, Leanne.
It was just one thing I wanted to point out is when we had this conversation, we had talked about phases within this committee of stuff being accomplished. The first one being stuff we would need for the next budgeting cycle. So that's how it would prioritize what the work is being done. And a lot of those changes that Billy mentioned wouldn't be implemented yet for that next budgeting cycle. I don't believe. I read a bunch of versions, but I wouldn't put it past someone for a last minute change.
Not until 2028.
So that was taken into account.
Yeah, I think I'm just responding to that, the worry that this would go on forever. I think we don't have that.
No, that was never the
option
plan.
now. Do we have a public question?
Sure. Go ahead.
I just looked through the packet. I didn't see this structure included in it. Is it not there?
Later.
It was emailed late.
I'm sorry.
It was in a stack
we have
here, but
copies
I'm
if you
so
want them.
sorry. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Here, I'll come grab them and hand them out.
Well, don't get too zealous.
Well,
There's
no, I
one
just-
left.
That's fine.
We can share.
I can share.
But I actually here.
Super.
Here.
There's one more.
It's online, right?
Yeah,
Thank you.
not yet. I don't think it's online yet
It was
either.
emailed to us. Yeah, late, but I didn't see it.
I got it somewhere.
Yeah.
Joe, can I just ask a
Sure.
quick question? Well, it's not even a question, it's sort of a comment. I wonder when you were all having, you and the officers were having this conversation, whether you were looking at the timeline of the legislation that if the governor signs, will be in place. It hasn't been signed yet by the governor,
Right.
but I'm assuming it will be. And there will be facilitators and regional, the Senate changed the name from study committees to merger committees. And the bill that passed, that process starts this fall. And what I've always been a champion of making sure that we're not waiting until legislation passes to make decisions, that we should be having these kinds of conversations. So this isn't a comment against doing that, but we will be part of a merger conversation this fall, so that all needs to be thought through in this process.
I think that would be, when we talked about this, it was, like Leanne said, it was in phases, and the committee was very much going to be reporting back to the board, or even saying to the board, we need to talk. Can you put a special meeting together, kind of thing. So it was going to be very hand in hand with the board, because we all know it needs to get done. This was separate from the merger committee that we know we're going to be on at some point. And just for our own information and as a response to requests that have been made. Oh, you've got hands everywhere here. Go ahead.
In light of the fact that come the fall, we're going to need to move forward with being part of the merger committees, I would recommend that this does not wait until October to start.
October is the finish, Fiona.
Oh, I misunderstood. Got it.
It starts as soon as we appoint a committee, hopefully tonight.
Good. And I would also recommend that the time of when that committee meets be determined by those that are on the committee so that it is conducive for those folks. To say that it's going to be at 8 o'clock, I could not participate, right? So I think we should not determine when that committee meets until we've chosen the members, and the members can find a time that works for them.
With the caveat that then the committee's gonna have to figure out their own Zoom location too.
That is an easy thing to figure out.
Well, it's gotta be,
It's gotta be public.
Public accessible, that's all I'm saying.
Isn't that something that could be figured out between whoever's the chair of that committee and the administration?
Not saying it can't be, it just needs to be a public location where people can attend in person.
Go ahead, Michael.
I think we have to be super careful. If we push this off, if we're not careful, we're going to end up having the same conversation next year about a budget failure. Structural change needs to happen 6 years ago, not a year or two. Like, we can't wait. We got to figure out what it is that we're doing, and we need to move forward. So I would just express that we really need to think about how things are going to go, and when we build our budget next year, it includes these changes, whatever they may be.
That's the intent.
I appreciate that we're starting to hustle.
Okay, so do we want to go forward with this thing?
Yeah.
You good?
Do we need a motion?
Well, yeah, we would need a motion to, create this committee to explore the structure of the district and charge them on, as set forth in this document. We need to change the word "granted the power to convene full board."
Joe?
Yeah.
Before we jump to that. So, Leanne, as you were talking about, we were talking about phases, right? So there's a lot to do, right? And to chunk it out into phases gives us a better opportunity to do something successfully, and also not jump ahead of ourselves and discover things that, hey, we can't do that, and yet that's the charge of the board for this committee. So correct me if I'm wrong, anybody else that was there, but I think the two things that we were wanting to look at as a part of the first charge was to do a deep dive into the K through 8 at Leland and Gray, as well as a good restatement of everything that has been done up to this point. As Michael mentioned, I would actually probably say it's been more than 6 years, probably closer to 10 or 12 years. And not for lack of trying, and when you have a district that has multiple communities, it is challenging, as we've seen, to have all agree on a particular thing. So the effort has been there for sure. Anyway, so those are the two things: the restatement, the K through 8 at Leland and Gray, and then I think also we had talked about doing a staffing restructure, middle school / high school, including scheduling. So I think those were Right, so those are kind of the
That was
main
6.
topics that we were thinking of that were very budget related, and we wanted to get through for the committee. Did I miss anything?
Nope, thank you for remembering the scheduling thing. I brought it up and then.
That's a big component.
I had that at the end of 6.
Oh, did I miss it?
No, I just now added it. I'll adjust the document, yeah.
Okay, so phase 1 of the committee would be point 2, point 6, and point 8. And then the other stuff that is talking about, that's just sort of formative, like, you're following the board norms, you've got a chair, you're running the meetings, you have a warning, a physical location, minutes, all of that. That's not work, that's just how you're gonna run your committee. 2, 6, and 8 are the work that the board is charging the committee with initially. Emily?
So two things. I think it's important that we remember, and this has been noted both in the legislature, and I think the administration has also heard from the Agency of Education, that our SU is, if we don't have enough schools in our SU, we would be called, this is not my term, it is a term that came up, I think, during the redistricting task force, a public school desert. And that is a serious concern that we've talked about in the legislature and in the education committee itself. The AOE has talked about it and has brought it up. You could speak more from the AOE perspective, I think, but I want to make sure that that's noted in the work that we're talking about here, because that needs to be reviewed. And the second thing I just wanted to say, I think that the process for setting up this committee, once we made a decision to do it, I think people should think about this and notify you of their interest, because if there's more people than 5 or one town's missing, then we can address it. But I have a feeling that if we're gonna try to talk about who's gonna be on this committee tonight, that's gonna be complicated, so we should email you and say.
Am I correct in thinking the board chair has the ability to appoint committees?
Yes,
So it
absolutely.
doesn't need to be a vote of the board to do that.
No.
So.
Right.
In fact, the board chair does appoint
Yeah.
subcommittee.
So the motion is to create the committee and charge them, and then the board chair can appoint the members of the committee.
Yeah, I think the board should direct that anyone who's interested should let the chair know that they're interested. So we keep it at 5. And you have stated in here you wanted 1 from each town, so.
We would that seems the fairest way to do it.
Well, we actually have, because we have, I think I read it in here that our members at large would represent, if they were one of them, they would represent the town if they were from
Town
as
of
well.
residence,
So
yeah.
it seems likely that we'd have enough people from all 5 towns.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There could be varying viewpoints within each town. So I would advocate for at least 2 from each community if they choose to serve. I could have a very different viewpoint than somebody else in.
That's a board.
That's a full board then, but it's no longer a
Understood.
committee at that point. Yes, Fiona?
During number 2, the portion of the reviewing long-term planning, I would suggest that be opened up to community members as well, if community members are interested in looking at that history.
All the committee meetings are open to anyone who wants to show up at them. So the warning, you can invite community members in our warning.
I was thinking more, when we did a long-term planning work before, I was not on the board, but I was part of the committee. I didn't just look at when the warnings happened and showed up. I was a member and I was a part of that process. And I think that would be helpful for 2 reasons. 1, so more of our community really has an understanding of what work has been done. And 2, being able to have more voices in the room and more people participating, that creates a much broader group of people that are doing the work, because it's a lot of work and we're only a few number of people. And I think having more people there, inviting our community,
would also add to the feeling of transparency and trust between the board and the community. So I would advocate for during that section, it be not just board members that are part of the committee.
I'm not sure how that would work.
Different configuration.
Yeah. I mean, that was sort of the intent of the committee can use whatever resources it wants. The committee can certainly invite in as much of the community as they want and hear what they have to say, but I'm not sure how it would work to say, for this meeting, you're on the committee. All right, you're off the committee. That.
Can I share the example I brought up?
Yeah.
So I was on the same one as you?
Yeah.
We ran into issues. We had community members, and it was, it was a board, even though community was involved, it's still a board committee, and it was around scheduling. I actually had to, in order to attend, miss paid work to accommodate community members outside of work schedules. And we wanted to avoid that happening again in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so.
That was my sole reason.
Go ahead, Kate.
Can we tease out a little bit more? Like, I read this quickly, I have to go, this is long-term planning conversation, but then it also sounds like it's kind of an address the budget conversation, and I just. Okay, I just want to clarify in conversation, like if this is just long-term planning and then there are some kind of out there questions and conversations we want to have or committee work we want to suggest we do with the budget. If I'm the only person who is wanting to just pull it out a little bit more, I consider it, but this is strictly a long-term planning committee, thinking about structure with an eye on assessing what works for our district, like big picture, and also preparing for merger conversations. So we go in with kind of an idea of what we want and need. Is that?
It's sort of. I mean, there's budget implications, maybe not tasks to this committee, but its work would be needed for the next budget creation. Am I making any sense? I don't feel that I am.
No, that makes sense, I think. Just,
it would show direction.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of how it fits into like community questions about that. It's not that I object, I just want to make sure we have a full picture of how we're gonna address this, because I think we need long-term planning and also we have some different kinds of short-term needs.
Okay.
Now where we at?
Somebody made a motion and
Yeah.
seconded it, right?
No.
No,
Yeah.
we talked
want
about
to?
the motion was made.
I asked if we needed to.
Make a motion to have the chair appoint 5 members to, what are we calling this committee? Committee to explore structure of the district.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion, or if we?
I
No.
actually do have another, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I do have one more
I
question.
give you my time.
I actually have a question. I think this conversation is probably happening all around us. And we don't talk in here, I've only just glanced through this because I just got it when everybody else got it, but I want to make sure that we're taking into consideration any other groups that are having this conversation in our region. The fall process of the merger committees has recommended borders, and I would assume those conversations are going to happen at least within those, if not more broadly even. And I just want to make sure that if there's any preliminary conversations going on, and I have a feeling there are, that we're at least aware of them and paying attention to that as well.
Or making offerings.
Yeah, hopefully, yes, Al.
In the motion, do we want to call out the specific charges that we noted, or?
Yeah.
Sure.
Can amend my motion.
So it'd be two, 6, and 8.
2, 6, and 8.
Actually, Bob, I think you amended.
And 6 got added with a little bit more.
Yeah, and a 6 was scheduling at the end. And I'm wondering if 7 should be part of that or not.
I don't know if
Based on what I'm
7
listening.
is as much.
Maybe that's more of a full board conversation, I don't know.
Well, and is 7 as much of a, you need to talk about this as you just need to be aware of this? I mean,
So we're
the
not
mer-
talking about all of these? We're talking about,
Initially, the committee should focus on 2, 6, and 8.
what about 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's some are charges and some are more like just guidelines for how the committee's gonna.
Right.
I mean, I would want both 8 and 9. If we were gonna talk about 8, I'd wanna make sure 9 is part of it.
Well, the other thing is we can revise this document and send it out and say, okay, here's the final after the conversation and taking into account what everyone said tonight. Here's the charge, here are the things to keep in mind. And, if you're interested in being on this committee, let me know, and then we'll pick the 5 and put the committee to work. I've made a note, the committee is gonna be on every agenda to report, so we'll at least get monthly updates. And I suspect that there will be some special meetings to just deal with committee stuff. But those can be, largely virtual, with a person, and just special, there'll be special meetings, so it's, we're talking about these 2 things and then we're done. So they'll be hopefully somewhat shorter.
So
But yes,
under number 4, it should just say the committee is granted the power to request to convene a full board, that's all. It needs to make that.
yep, yeah, I changed it to is encouraged to convene the full board if they want to talk to them or
Whatever.
something. But yeah, same kind of, we'll change that.
And Joe, so.
Yes.
I think, Emily, I think the reason we didn't do 8 and 9 combined was 8 is, all right, is it even feasible, right? It's almost like a feasibility approach on 8, and then just yes or no. And then, yes, obviously, 9 is a.
I understand that, I just am trying to say anybody looking at this might see that it's if you're only talking about 8, then that's a priority of the board, and I don't agree with that it's a priority, me, anyway.
Okay.
So I just wanna make sure.
Oh, yeah.
Kate has something.
I agree with Emily that it makes sense to have both these questions on the table. I wonder if we might move to create this committee when there's an appointment process, but also before we adopt the committee, give some more input on kind of the mandate and structure, where we sort of jump right to wordsmithing. And if we want to do that, I would make a suggestion to replace a few words, but maybe we could make a little more general and kind of finalize that those the charge as well as the committee members at our next meeting, or if we need a special meeting, just because I think this is a great idea and direction, but I do think that if we're adopting specific language and specific tasks, that it might be worth having the opportunity to massage them a little bit.
Okay. Michael.
I would prefer to try to keep if we're gonna throw it into a committee, I think we should allow the committee to explore, quote unquote, all of the general options. See where the committee is led, right? We all know that the budget is too big. We all know that in 3 years, huge changes are going to be made. We all know that the communities are asking for structural change. Allow the committees who are representatives from the towns to explore what that means. I don't think we should limit their scope of work. We should allow the committee to drive itself. If we're going to put it into a committee, let the committee figure out what the path is going to be and go from there.
Okay. I have no problem trying to figure out the charge a little bit better, but I'd like to actually get that decided enough that we're comfortable with it, that we can move forward with, putting the committee in place. Now, presumably, we're going to put forth a budget at some point, and we can form the committee at the budget information meeting, because it could get put on that agenda. But I don't want to wait until that meeting to try and formalize the fact that we're going to have the committee or whatever.
I'm still struggling with why we're linking the budget into this long-term planning. I mean, we are going to be moving forward with a budget process like we always do, and we typically have, I'm assuming the board will do what they've done in the past. They certainly can change it, but have a budget committee that starts, and that probably should start pretty quickly. We really do need to be prepared, even though we haven't passed our budget this year, for our next year. And given that we're going to be having conversations starting in the fall on merging with other districts, I think that exploring all of these options are great, but I still don't see the link to the budget development process. Separate from the board has to do the budget development.
Right, the board has to do the budget development process, but in response to what we've heard about our budget from our communities, these things have future budget implications, and taking this work on and giving it the importance that it has in the communities is an important part of getting people to support us in our budget.
So we're not talking about budget development, we're talking about budget impact.
Yes.
Let me go ahead, because
But I think that's what I was trying to get at before. Like, I think that we need to have structural and long-term planning conversations. My take is that those should not be, in the first instance, like line item budget conversations. We should bring, we should bring our community along with us, and they should understand, as I see it, that this is one of several things we are doing to respond to lots of feedback we had in the budget process, was that it wasn't just about the numbers. And I think that's really important, that we listen and act. And so I think that, like, we should have this conversation, and we should know that we'll be having like the annual budget conversation and also kind of the concept and values conversation, like all year, and that's ongoing. And hopefully we can reassure folks that this is one of the steps we're taking in response to the budget process and feedback. But I think I if we're gonna do this, would not wanna have this be like, oh, let's figure out the numbers for next year as part of the long-term planning. Just, not that you said that, but I just wanna clarify that, make sure we're on the same page about that.
That's where I am too.
I think we're on that page. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I realize that we like committees apparently. And I realize that there's a budget committee that's going to be looking at numbers, but they're not going to be able to look at numbers until we decide what structural change is. This committee is going to have to decide what structural change is, right? One knows that the budget is too expensive. It is too expensive. You may disagree, but it is true. It is too expensive. We need to figure out how to readjust the costs that are associated with our current budget. That is what structural change means. We are going to have to look at the current situation and identify ways to achieve more efficiency and also better outcomes. Because clearly, it appears from the data that is publicly accessible that there is perhaps an issue with some of the data that's coming out, or we have undesirable outcomes. So we need to look at what structural change means, and that will affect what the budget looks like.
Go ahead, Fiona.
Can we call the question?
I think that actually takes a majority vote, 2/3. Yeah, I'd have to look at my Robert's Rules cheat sheet. Emily, you had a comment?
No, it's fine. Let's do the call to question. I've been ready for a while.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to create this West River Committee to explore the structure of the district. and to allow the chair to appoint the members. And we know we need to, better define the charge and forthcoming, but, we can do that the officers can put that together in, consultation with administration to get that the way we wanted based on this conversation and get something out so that at our next meeting, which would be relatively soon, we can actually, appoint. People should email me with interest to be on the committee, and then we'll actually get it appointed and get it working. So, all in favor of creating the committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Email me with your desire to serve on this, knowing that it's going to be a lot of work. Thank you all. Okay, so
Joe, can I
yes.
Are you also soliciting input on the charge, as we've called it? Can board members send that?
Sure. Just don't take it in a direction it's not already pretty much figured out, okay? Don't add some new stuff. It's only, future structure.
I got it,
which will have budget implications.
Got it.
Okay. We're still, okay, so what do we want to do about the budget? We've had the explanation of the increase, which, we've had a recommendation now because of the fluidness of this year's budget, that it's probably not even worth including that increase in the budget. So we can go back now to how do we want to change the last budget, because we have to change it, and then put it forth. And what would the timeline for that be? Thoughts on what we do next to the budget, folks?
What is the final number, Heidi?
Final number on the budget. The one that I included in your packet is actually $1 less than the one you just presented.
There you go.
The bottom line is $15,062,658.
So it's $1 less?
It's $1 less.
Let's go with that one.
Second that.
I was gonna say, is that a motion, David?
That is a
What
motion.
Michael said, it's way too high.
Let's address the
I'm sorry?
concerns.
You put in a motion together, so I think.
Nobody
Well,
seconded it.
So he made a motion, he seconded
Oh,
it.
he did? I didn't know.
Well, but there's now lots of discussion and the motion could get amended or changed or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you want to speak to the motion you made, Dana?
Just, let's try it again. Third time's a charm.
Okay, Al?
I think in light of all of the increases that we see in healthcare, et cetera, a 1.6% increase in budget is and was a responsible budget. And I think we should go forward with that.
Okay, Fiona?
I have a proposal to save $16,000 in the budget. And I'd like to read it. I would like to propose that that administrative substitutes, I have an idea for how to save some money in the substitute line. Here's my idea. Beginning in FY27, the 6 non-student facing administrators, the superintendent, director of curriculum and learning, curriculum director, IT director, director of SEL wellness, equity, and the director of out-of-school time will each serve as substitute teachers for 1 to 2 designated days per month. Here's my rationale. Teaching administrators are more effective leaders. When administrators spend significant time in classrooms, that direct engagement meaningfully improves teacher performance and student outcomes. Administrators with recent regular classroom experience are better equipped to provide instructional feedback, evaluate teacher practice, and build credibility with staff. The concept of learning-centered leadership holds that administrators who remain connected to the instructional environment make better curriculum and staffing decisions because they understand the current classroom realities firsthand. 2, the substitute budget is consistently over. I just talked with Heidi this morning, and our substitute teacher budget has
has exceeded projections every year. Redirecting a portion of administrative capacity towards substitute coverage is a direct, recurring cost-saving measure that requires no additional hiring or contracting. 3, equity and shared sacrifice. Our district has made difficult cuts to student-facing staff. SPED personnel are now managing their own caseload paperwork following the elimination of the case manager position. Staff across the district have absorbed additional responsibilities. It is appropriate and important for institutional trust that non-student facing administrators demonstrate the same willingness to step in to service roles. This proposal asks administrators to do more with the capacity they have, consistent with the direction the district is already moving. 4, strengthen trust between administrators and teaching staff. When administrators regularly appear in classrooms in a service capacity, it signals genuine investment in the school community. Teachers are more likely to trust and respect administrative decisions when they see leadership sharing in the day-to-day work of the school. Regular classroom presence also gives administrators direct, unfiltered insight into what teachers and students are experiencing. Implementation, my idea. Scheduling. When
hold on, can I just ask you one question? When I asked you for this in an email, why didn't you not send this to me so that we could have handed this to everybody?
I didn't have it fleshed out.
It seems pretty fleshed now.
Yeah, I had some time this afternoon after work.
Pray continue.
Thank you. Each administrator will designate their substitute days in advance on a monthly basis. For example, the first Wednesday and third Tuesday or third Tuesday of each month. This predictable scheduling allows administrators to protect those days on their calendars and ensure coverage will not conflict with board meetings, schedule evaluations, or fixed obligations. Why advanced designations might work. Many teachers schedule personal and medical days in advance. By having administrators pre-commit to specific days in the month, the district gains a reliable planned pool of substitute coverage. So what that would do is substitute rate is $135 a day. If the 6 administrators chose to do 1 day a month, that would be an annual savings of $8,100. If they chose to do 2 days a month, that would be $16,200. That would be either 5% of their time during the month or 10%. And if for a 3-year projection, that would be, if they did it 1 time a month, it would be over 3 years, $24,300, or twice a month, $48,600. That is my idea.
Any administrators want to speak to that?
I mean, a couple thoughts, but one of them is that the administrators that she's referencing don't work for the district, they work for the SU.
That's right.
So I don't think that the board has the authority to direct them to do that.
I feel like because while they don't work for the board, they work within our schools.
Correct.
Same as so we have the SPED staff work for, they are WCSU employees, but they work in specific schools. So I feel like it would be something that the administrators could do. You could direct the administrators to specifically work within our district 1 or 2 days a month. I don't think that would be any different than saying, as a SPED employee on the WCSU level, you are working in a certain school.
Well, except that that's their job.
It's their job.
That's a different, it is a different thing. I mean, it's the days that you're talking about, the people that you're talking about have full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that would be my concern, like what happens on those days when people have the rest of their job to do.
But that.
You're implying that they don't have full-time jobs.
No,
they
I'm
have
not
space
implying
to do
that at all. I'm implying that many of our staff have had to take on extra responsibilities because of the staffing cuts that we have made over the years, and we all have to pitch in and do that. And I think this would be a very easy thing for the administrators to take on, just as we've had, maybe easy is not the right word, but I think it would be a good faith effort to show the community, to show our staff, that the administrators are also willing to take on more responsibilities, just like the teaching staff have had to take on more responsibilities.
Go ahead, Leanne.
Actually, conceptually, I love that idea. However, I agree that this would probably, if it were to become something that occurred, would have to be at more of an SU level. Because if we're saying, hey, we're asking you guys to come, what was your proposal, 1 to 2 days a month? Then River Valley steps in and it's like, oh, we also want each of you 1 to 2 days a month, which is really gonna cut into the time of actually being able to do what they're hired for originally. That's my concern there.
My original idea was to do that at the SU level, but I don't have the capacity to do that.
Right.
You're on the SU board.
Our next meeting is in October,
Oh, there'll be one before that.
but our next scheduled meeting is in October, and I didn't feel like there was time to do that in the capacity.
Okay, Lindsay.
Hi, thank you. I love where you're coming from with this, Fiona. I think it's a really great concept. I actually think it would do wonders to help rebuild the trust that the community seems to find lacking with both our board and sort of central office. And I've heard a lot about it as a board member, trying to figure out what we're going to do budget-wise. And a lot of what I've heard is, we need to find ways to rebuild that trust. And I think that this would really help. We talk a lot about, the SU staff it's not an us versus them, right? It's like they are us. We are all working for the same goal here. And I think a lot of what Fiona says is true, that, having a little more presence in the actual schools would do wonders for the community, as well as, all of the things Fiona said. So I don't know how specifically it happens, but I do think the concept has a lot of value. So thank you for that, Fiona.
I actually think it's an interesting idea. I think we're hung up on the legalities because we can't, like Bob said, these are all Windham Central employees, not West River employees. The only administrators we could actually task with that would be the principals. And I think they're probably already in classrooms a lot. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't think it's practically possible. So, but something we can further explore. And I know both Kate and Emily want to talk about it.
I want to say that I appreciate the proposal a lot. I think addressing community concern and trust is important. I also see two of our SU administrators and all of our principals sitting here at 9 o'clock. And I know that many of them are at meetings like every night. So I would love it if we can take this proposal as like a substantive proposal, if not just a budget proposal, so that we can like do what you're proposing, right? In spirit and like get that right. But I am like logistics, I know there's a lot of negative feeling or negative comment in the community, but I think that I'm looking at these people sitting here at 9 o'clock at night tonight and all week, and I feel like adding 2 more work days effectively to their calendar without further discussion. I just would like us to think about whether there's a way to address that without doing that sort of on the fly at a meeting. Although
Emily, then Mike.
I think she pretty much covered what I was going to say.
Okay.
I'm gonna come back to I would love us to have this conversation so everybody understands, because we're back at what do administrators do, and I just would like us to, I say that in a spirit of zero criticism, but let's help folks understand, because it's fair that people are what do they do? How do their schedules work? What are they doing in the buildings? And I think that is worth having the community on board and the larger community really understand, and then folks can support, can disagree, but at least they'll kind of
So I do want to say something then, because no, that's fine. I still agree with you, but I have to put this in context, and I recognize how the job that our administration has is overwhelming. I think you all heard me talk about how people aren't even applying for these jobs right now because they're hard work. And I appreciated Kate's perspective about being here in the evenings. It's not just or West River meetings. It's all kinds of meetings all night. I've been hearing this forever. And I don't know how they do their job with losing a day a month. I honestly don't. And on top of that, they're very highly paid administrators who have really demanding jobs that they would be far overqualified for. And if it's trust we're trying to fix, repair, putting highly paid administrators in the classroom once a month doesn't feel like a way to build trust. It feels much more that it's basically saying they aren't working full time, that they have that extra time to do it, and it's not addressing the real issue that I think that we need to address, which is what you were saying, Kate. I think we need to talk about how we make sure people understand the roles of all of our staff, and that includes administrators, and figure out a way to build trust back if that's something that needs to happen. And I think it does.
Thanks, Emma. Michael.
It is clear that our communities do not trust the administration. They're like public enemy number one. Whether that's earned or not is really... Hold on. Can I please finish my statement? Thank you. So whether it's earned or not is besides the point, right? When I went to the Jamaica meeting and listened, clearly people were upset and felt like the administration wasn't being transparent and wasn't sacrificing like the district is. The general feeling that I got from the room was that the WRED has cut the budget so much that there wasn't anything left. The general feeling was that the SU level administration was taking advantage of the electorate. Whether, like I said, whether it's true or not is besides the point, but that's the feeling that they have. And I do agree that the administration does need to work really, really hard to rebuild the trust. I think that a token effort of some kind would be very, very valuable. I do believe that this is an interesting idea. Whether it's quote unquote legal for the WRED board to ask the administration to do it or not is like a whole different side of the conversation, I suppose. But I think it would be fair if the WRED were to ask or suggest that the administration consider the concept. Whether they can do it legally or not, I don't know. Thanks.
I just want to talk about the trust since that was brought up again. I don't believe at all that it's the administration who needs to rebuild trust. I think it's the board that needs to rebuild trust. That's where the lack of trust is. We employ the administration. It's our responsibility. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Wait, Fiona, then Leanne.
I want to be really clear that my proposal isn't a dig on administration. I think that administration and teachers and paras and everyone in the school building is important. And I just thought that there would be an interesting way to help administrators be more in the classroom and to have a way to save money, a way to have people be together in a different way. And I think that's valuable. And I just want to be really clear about that.
because I have seen how teaching administrators have been I've had teaching administrators while I've been an educator, and I've seen how it's benefited them. It actually is rejuvenating to them. I have had one of my principals taught one class in a high school, and he said it was really helpful. Because one of the things I hear administrators say a lot is they miss being in the classroom, they miss being around kids all the time. And so I think it's not beneath an administrator to be a substitute teacher in a classroom, one thing. That is an incredibly valuable role. Being a teacher is not beneath an administrator first. So I just want to be really clear that I did not come to this idea as a dig. I came to this as an interesting way to have our community work together.
Lee, and you were next.
Mine was more piggybacking off of Emily with the trust. I actually had an idea, and I know we've got the budget motion on the table at the moment, but it was about trust rebuilding and maybe some sort of resolution of the board with certain action items for, well, it couldn't happen for this budget cycle because we are within huge time constraints at this point. Certain things like we would do, that we're listening, taking into account some of the issues people had with how our annual report was presented, clarity on how the budget timeline goes. Sort of like the WCSU created a timeline of how they're going to communicate with the other boards, or maybe some sort of internal document similar to that, and just resolve to, with these items, do better to build trust and communication.
Sure. Yeah, I think we should too.
Can we put together kind of a list? I know lots of folks have had suggestions. We haven't even gotten to like the input from the various meetings that we all attended. I sent them, some of you like our notes from VIII, but can we work on kind of a list or a punch list of things that we think are important and that are also commitments to our communities about things the board is gonna do? Because I think we need to make some of these commitments, and we're not gonna be able to address all of them before we get to the budget. We haven't even got to talking about the cost of not adopting a budget, which, some of us think will cost empty dollars more. But maybe we can do that either on the fly now or in writing, like have a kind of a set of commitments, whether it's like we will have these many community meetings, starting with maybe there's conversation to be had at the budget meeting, and then we commit to 2 more. We can even set dates for, board meetings when we'll have people come and we'll have a looser Q&A. I don't know, or maybe we'll do written things. I don't want to take too much time with that, but maybe there's a way to kind of make some commitments about how we're going to proceed to address those concerns, and in exchange, maybe we'll ask the community to work with us to help us get the budget over the line so that we can keep our kids and teachers in school in the coming year without like all this money that we saved on the budget, like that we end up just paying it interest, which I have to admit is something I'm thinking about a lot.
Well, we are talking about putting a budget out tonight and probably voting on it pretty quickly. We need to be deciding how we're going to change the way we present this budget and get voter engagement right now in the next week, or however long it's going to take us to get this out, and get the 10% turnout to be higher. We need to hear from more of our voters in the 5 towns so that we can say, that we've done a better job with our outreach. We need to do that immediately. Those things are all incredibly important, and I 100% support all of that. And we're gonna have to decide right now how we're gonna address the next phase of this, which is immediate. Because we need higher turnout, and it's summer, and it's going to be harder.
If we put this out tonight, what's our timeline, Bob? I forget.
Well, so you have on a revote, 7-day warning, and then 5 days prior to the vote, must have an informational meeting. So in my consultation with Alenka, a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, she gave me a list of dates. A couple of those have passed now, obviously. But the 17th Wednesday the 17th would be within the framework of a warning. After that, she is going to be gone until July 10th. And as the clerk of the board, she's the one that organizes the election and runs it. So we kind of need her to be here. So if we aren't able to pull it off by the 17th, then you'd be talking about mid-July.
So in theory, if we
Can't wait that long.
if we put it out tonight, we would have to have, it would be fine to warn a vote for the 17th, and we'd have to have an information meeting, say, on the 15th.
Yeah, within
So
within 5 days
Or
of
the
that date.
16th.
Or the 16th, but we could have an information meeting we could have an information meeting that week, and we can have a vote on the 17th. And if we don't do that, we're stuck until mid-July.
So you have to go with plan B.
Which is, well, I mean, we'll authorize the note tonight. It's borrowed in chunks and the interest is on each chunk, and, you know, we don't get into serious problems until way late in the year. But, you know, we'd rather not do that. And we do have to continue working for a budget, even though we're borrowing money, so.
I have
It's
a
just
question.
costs. Sure.
If I may, how do, if this goes to pass tonight and the date is the 17th, how rapidly can the district, the supervisory union, get early voter ballots to town clerks so that they can go out?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to, tomorrow she's in the office, so she could get that out tomorrow, I would imagine.
The clerk
She,
that does that.
yeah, the clerk does that, not the SU office. And she would have those out I would assume probably by tomorrow afternoon. It's the same language as the the second one, I guess, is only one article. You have to change the numbers and get it out there, so I think it'd be pretty quick.
Great, thanks, Bob.
Go ahead.
I know, we're all just making this all weird. Now, if you guys do that and we vote to do that, is that something like you can send a flyer home with kids from school to their parents to help get the vote out there, get more people to come in? Can we do that? Because, I mean, I know not all parents are gonna vote, but that's just one more way of getting them to know, hey, there's gonna be another vote on this day. Yes, we have a meeting coming up, but maybe we could get, you know, the schools, you know, helping push out the word.
Yeah, if we had a flyer we sent out for the second vote, then we
Lawn
could.
signs, I mean, I'll tell
do
my
it
girls on the
again.
run,
So,
put that out, like, I mean, how can we really blast this out there? Everyone needs to know.
Agreed.
So I think it needs to be also, I don't know if Chris Mays is still here, but I think we need to be doing an interview with press to make sure that we get it on there. He's still on. Yeah, he's still there. And do public announcements through whatever way we can, along with all the other suggestions. I think we absolutely need to have a different approach this time, and a broader approach, and it has to be executed almost immediately.
Yep.
Leanne, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'd like to see, I don't know if there's a way to do this, print copies of the budget in certain locations, because people are fed up with trying to find stuff with QR codes and searching online. That, I think, has been pretty consistent in the feedback I've heard. Actually, just in general, people are tired of technology.
we can get those, I think, to the town offices. I don't know if schools would be the best option. We can get them to
I was
town
more
offices
thinking
midway.
town offices.
Yep, I think we threw a bunch of copies
We
in
can
each
do
one.
that.
And maybe the stores,
General places where people congregate or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
libraries.
Libraries, yeah, that's a good one. I think all of that is extremely doable and should be done, and we can publicize it on, you know, I mean, we papers, front porch forums, Facebook, school notes, email blasts,
Yes.
everything. This recording, which, you know, some people will watch. I've got Lindsay online, and then we'll go to you, Emily, and then I have public again.
Thanks, Joe. I think that it's really important that we somehow communicate in some bullet points that are really easy to digest the actual steps that we as a board have taken and the things that we are committing to continue doing to try and improve the process. I understand that, right? We can't do a lot immediately and we need to move this budget along immediately. So the things that we have committed to do and the conversations that we've committed to having are really our only hope, as far as I'm concerned, of trying to convince some of those no votes into yes votes. And I think that if we can convey that information in a easy to digest way that people understand, we're not just putting it back out again. We are committing to try to hear what people say and meet their needs. I think that's pretty important.
Thanks.
If I could just say, I agree with that, and again, I'm just focused on getting a higher vote turnout and doing what Lindsay was just saying. But what I really want is 2 weeks to do this, and what I'm really worried about is the farther we go into summer, the harder it's going to be to increase that turnout. If we get into July, we're in trouble, I think. And so people are on vacation, and once school's out, and so I think we should need to do the 17th.
Okay. Darcy.
Sarah has a comment too. It's okay, I'll go next. Those up first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
It's okay.
I've been trying to do board members, but new inclusivity. Everybody talk.
Can I talk?
Yes.
Let's start. Hi, sorry. I know that like kind of what Emily was saying, and I don't know even if it's possible, but maybe for the future, is there a way to do mail-in votes? I think that you might get maybe a few more people, taxpayers, willing to vote if it was a mail-in, but I didn't know if that was an option.
Town clerks can send ballots out, right? As soon as we publish a ballot tomorrow, if we do this, then you'd have to request it from your town clerk, and then it would be a mail-in vote.
If I may.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, I'm Katie Johnson. I'm the select board for the town of Newfane, and I'm also on the board of civil authority in Newfane as one of those people. So, to that point, yes, the town, just like a regular early ballot form, you would call your town clerk and ask to be sent one, and I would recommend hand delivering it back at the town office just because of the time constraint. And then B, school board members, if you have free time, if it really is next Wednesday, will you talk to your town clerk and volunteer a couple hours to work your poll? Because they're going to be scrambling to fill out staffing for the vote within a week.
Thanks. Sarah.
I agree with all this, and I'd like to put together a plan right now of who's doing what, and I think every board member should take something on, like make sure all front porch forum in every town is submitted, make sure it's on Facebook everywhere. Maybe we take roles in any way we can come up with that we feel would create outreach to the community and get the word out there. And I think we should lead with a specific plan and people assigned to tasks.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
I'll get it in the Vermont Digger.
Okay.
Because they're talking to me tomorrow.
Can you do like a press release that can go to the Commons and the
Yeah, I think it needs to be both you and the superintendent maybe talking to the press in whatever way possible in the next day or two. Yeah.
Is there any way within the Reformer, because one thing I heard is they do I don't read the Reformer, sorry, but they do a weekly, this is what's coming up, meetings. Is there a way to make sure it's in there? Because I know people have looked for our meetings there and said they are not there, so votes, meetings.
That's what we voted on when we reorganized to have the.
Yeah, but I'm hearing, and it has been, but I'm hearing that they're not there, and I can't verify it, like I said, I'm not a daily reader.
Yeah, I'll check into that. I'll call Chris tomorrow. But that reminded me of the conversation you and I had in my office about Front Porch Forum and getting the word out. Can you repeat that for folks who can hear that?
Okay, I couldn't verify but this was the feedback. I'm giving a lot of unverifiable information.
No, I think we confirmed this in our office too, same problem.
I checked again actually for tonight's meeting and I went through and I couldn't find it. But for our Newfane Brookline community listening session, I used to live in Newfane, so that's the Front Porch Forum that my account's associated with. I posted that, I checked the little box at the bottom to put it into the other area Front Porch Forums, and no one was able to tell me if it was actually in the email that went out. It does go on the regional calendar if you go in, but I don't know how many people take that step.
So perhaps what we could do is that each community on Front Porch Forum, one of us is the representative for that one. So I could take Newfane, because it's Newfane, Townsend, and Jamaica is together, correct? And Brookline is a separate one.
And there needs to be a single one that goes out to every,
So if we could have one press release that is created,
We'll have a flyer.
right?
We'll have a flyer that we did.
But I'm saying a post for Front Porch Forum.
Oh, separate
They all need to be the
text
same
post.
Yes, they all need to
in
be
each
the same.
town, and
If someone would like to write that, that would be fantastic from a board member perspective.
If you guys are doing a press release tomorrow, but also when I was looking for tonight's agenda on Front Porch Forum, hoping it would be there, and it was not a new thing, but the previous ones were. I assumed it was maybe in the office because
We're posting them and we're checking the box, just like Leanne said, but they're appearing, I think, on the Townsend one.
you have to do like maybe it's like there's announcements and calendars and
Yeah, it goes to the calendar, but it doesn't go to the list in your email.
maybe like Front Porch Forum answers the phone. Maybe that whoever's
Okay.
doing that, or
They're
email them
usually
because
really good.
and they will I've dealt with them for the planning commission. You can
I did hit the announcement when I did mine, just for clarification.
not to doubt you, just
No, because there's so many different ways you can do it.
But maybe for the office, like you can get somebody by email. I think you can get somebody on the phone, and they're pretty good about trying to facilitate town communication working. At least in my experience, but.
seeing the towns all over the thing.
Okay. What else do we need to do? Leanne, you gonna do Brookline?
For Front Porch Forum,
Yeah.
that would probably have to be Sarah, my account's
Okay.
Newfane. And
All right, Sarah,
I
you're
give enough
voluntold.
emails.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I should probably change that.
Townsend, Jamaica is all one.
I believe Newfane.
I don't think
Jamaica.
they're the same.
Oh, so Newfane and Townsend are
I
together?
still know
Yeah,
Newfane
I can do
We need
that.
Jamaica.
So we need someone for Jamaica.
We use Karen.
Pardon? What?
Karen's really Karen.
It would be better if it came from a board member.
Yeah.
Gives it more.
Oh, yeah, we'll have it on there. Me and Drew will have something on there.
Okay.
And what about Windham?
Michael, your hand is up to volunteer to put it on Wyndham's, right?
No, I don't have anything to do with Front Porch Forum, so I have no idea anything about it other than the fact that I know we're associated with Athens and Grafton because apparently Windham is part of that neck of the woods. So if somebody could make sure that we end up like posting that on Grafton, Athens / Windham, that would be really great.
We'll need someone who lives in the.
Yeah, we need somebody who lives in those towns.
Sign up.
You can
To
sign up as get a.
I don't do that kind of technology. Somebody was trying to get me to do WhatsApp and I don't do that either. So I don't do that kind of stuff.
Crystal, are you volunteering to save us here?
I can ask Ellen if she can do it. Because anytime I've tried to post, it doesn't go. But I think Ellen kind of runs the town's Front Porch Forum.
Okay. You have something here?
Who is creating the press release? Who's gonna do this? The press release is different than the flyer,
Yeah, I
correct?
was gonna create the flyer.
If you create the flyer, send it to me, I'll make a press release out of it. And then I will send it to the full board. Are you sending the flyer, is the flyer being sent to?
We would hit all the town clerks,
Town
schools to distribute, the full board, obviously, you guys can share it out as well. The press, whoever wants it.
So,
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Regarding the press release, what are the selling points? Clearly the number hasn't changed that much. What are we doing to encourage people to vote for the current budget?
You wanna answer that? Go
I
ahead.
think one important thing is for folks to understand that if the budget is voted down again, we will have to borrow in order to get the money in order to have our schools function. And that could cost us upward of $5,000 a month, as I understand, if we borrowed the entire amount. Help me out with numbers, Heidi.
Well, I also think it's important to realize that you're only gonna be working, without a past budget, you're working on 87, we can borrow up to 87% of our current budget, which is just over a $2 million decrease of the budget that we're proposing. And I think it's important to note that with that $2 million decrease, you have to pay salaries and you have to pay benefits and you have to pay your assessments, which actually is that complete $12 million budget. So the board would be I'd be looking for you to freeze all spending on anything besides budget, salaries, and the assessments.
If it doesn't pass.
If it doesn't pass.
Can you define what an assessment is?
Assessment is the SU,
what we owe the SU.
what you owe the SU, so it includes your busing, so your busing would continue, and you would continue having special education services and all that's assessment. But that is all that it would cover. And so, the hope is that a budget would eventually pass, but you would really wanna be cautious, because if you don't know when it's gonna pass, you shouldn't be spending anything above and beyond that. So I think that's important. The other piece that I think is important for taxpayers to know is the towns are gonna have to set a tax rate, and the tax rate, there's a couple ways they could handle this, but the tax rate, they could set a minimum of the $1 tax rate, and you'd get your tax bill, but when a budget does pass, there would be a lump sum payment that would be due at that time. That could be very difficult for people to be able to afford. And that's gonna mean extra work on the town's part, because they're gonna have to send out multiple tax bills.
Every treasurer will be really happy with us.
So I think those are important pieces.
Heidi, can you provide examples of what we would not be able to fund?
Well, you're probably looking at any extracurricular, you're looking at athletics, you're looking at theater. Jamie's 100,000 would probably be cut. He would have just his grant that he's working with. No supplies, no equipment. The building operations, you technically don't have any money to fix or to repair or to pay for any scheduled maintenance. Food is a really big one.
That's the
Feeding kids.
To be clear though, this is assuming that would be like the worst case scenario, if you don't ever pass a budget, which you have to keep trying to pass a budget.
Right.
So you're borrowing up to 87%, and if you're spending the money out, as long as you don't hit the 87% of the school year part, that's when you would run out of money, in essence. So if your budget is passing before that, you should be okay, but it's just more of a cautionary tale around like how far down that road you want to go and spending that you won't be able to recoup if you still don't have a budget later on.
So can I just say, we're talking press release, and I want to make sure that what we're talking about here, you've mentioned press release several times, and when I first brought all this up, I wasn't actually talking about a press release. I actually wanted the administration and the board chair to contact the press and share with them the challenges we've been going through, and encouraging a story on this is a very quick turnaround on an upcoming budget vote, blah, 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 whatever you guys feel is important. This information that you just shared, Heidi, is critically important, and it should be part of our budget documents. And we have a summary of them and we're posting it out. I also think that somebody needs to, and it's not gonna be me, but someone needs to write up a very brief information thing to put on Front Porch Forum that everybody else, they all post the exact same thing in their community, so.
And I also want to just point out that your summer food program happens right away.
Yeah.
And so it can be a choice of your board to go ahead and fund that. I mean, I know it's hugely used in our communities. A lot of families take use of it. We were thinking about expanding over to the Dover area because that's an area that doesn't have as much, but you know, I'd be looking for the board to make some decisions about that if we don't have funding in place, because it's certainly, it brings in money for sure.
And I'm not opposed to even a press release bringing that part out. I'm just saying that we've got a quick turnaround
Yes,
here.
yes.
And I'm just really concerned that if we're gonna vote on a budget tonight, we need to be prepared with, as I think it was Sarah who said the plan, on exactly what is going out and who it's going from. It can't be just random board members writing up stuff. It really has to be very clean and clear.
Emily, I just want to clarify one thing for you, because I have been looking at what looks like a higher yield number, which is what I put into this tax calculator for tonight's meeting, but I have not found it actually written anywhere.
So the yield bill has not been signed yet, as far as I know. So I
Okay.
don't think it's in stone until the governor signs the bill, and I suspect he will. When bills pass in the legislature, they have to go through editing, which takes sometimes big bills days and days to get through editing. And once they're through editing, then they go to the General Assembly to sign and send to the governor. I would assume quite a chunk came out today that the governor signed. None of the important ones for education. There were some education bills did get signed
That's why I'm
today.
not finding anything.
You know,
I mean,
but
I had heard that they were bringing forth what.
But I don't expect, you should be able to find it in the final committee of conference report. It should be in there. I haven't looked and I could.
Okay.
But that's where the number should be, and it's not law until the governor signs.
Okay.
And he might not sign, but I assume he will.
I mean, if it's the higher number, I'm guessing because he's been pushing it that he will sign it, but that could also involve other pieces of the legislation,
The
right?
committee of conference report included, I think, up to 100 million, I think, of buy down
Okay.
property tax rates.
Okay. Michael, you have more to add.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to think and remember that we do have a couple of options left. We do have operational reserve that we could tap into. I know it's not desirable to use that, but we can offset some of the borrowing with operational reserve. So that is a consideration. I know it's not desirable, but we could stave off some challenges. And then I think it's clear that we need to make sure we need to really sell what we're trying to do, right? We need to make sure that the public understands that the budget as we see it currently is pretty well static. We can't cut any more without losing face time for our students. That's really important. And if they want us to bring it down, that's going to be a major challenge that we have. Thanks.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Could we consider, I think, a letter, if you're interested in drafting something separate from, I think Emily's idea that the chair and that the superintendent are talking to the press, but something that is effectively like a letter from the board to the community. If you're looking for something to put on Front Porch Forum, like if that's something that you're interested in drafting, right? Like that would be on behalf of all of us, kind of a letter to our community explaining what's going on and why we need their support.
And if she's drafting, because you offered.
I mean, I'm happy to
and
help
people
you
jump
with
all
just
over. I want it to be positive about our students and our staff and everything. I don't want it to be all the doom and gloom. Honestly, we have a lot to celebrate in this district, and we haven't been celebrating it enough lately.
And Fiona, I didn't mean to put work on your plate. Like I'm happy to work with you or whatever. But if in the direction of a press release, just like maybe that's a thing. Like if we can,
Needs to be run by the board chair.
and maybe the whole board if it's kind of from the whole board. But I just as a way to continue to
All
speak
I
for
was
our
wanting to
community.
do is, you mentioned,
Get information
Emily,
out.
that we needed to have the same amount of information in all of
That's
the,
correct.
in all of Front Porch Forum. So what I was planning on doing is taking what Bob creates in the press release, condensing it into bullet points, having the board chair approve it, if that's what, because I know we can't have all approve it, because we keep,
I'm gonna say that I think for Front Porch Forum, we can do that, but what we really need to do is a very brief one about just the details. That's one of the most important ones, just prior to the date of the vote, that kind of thing. So there's two avenues of front porch forum, I think. Sure, you can share information and here's the vote coming up, but then I think there needs to be, people don't read long ones, I'm telling you, they don't.
Oh, no, that's why I'm
So-
saying bullet points. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
I'm just bullet pointing.
I know, but when it gets to, there needs to be a second one, like day 4 or something, with just the dates, and don't forget to vote.
Also,
Dates, times, locations.
also push the budget information meeting in the front porch
Oh, yeah,
forum post.
that's right, too.
I mean, and we'll make it as long as it needs to be and answer questions. You know, I would, if people have really hard questions, really complex things, maybe submit them ahead of time so we can be prepared. Because I mean, it's pretty hard to, sometimes the questions, you know, it's like, well, we'd have to do some research to get back to you, and that, then that's not, you know, being transparent. But nobody has all of that all the time in their head. So, you know, it's like, if you want some research, you know, invite people to email questions.
If you talk to the press, can you say folks should send their questions to you or
Me,
Bob or whatever,
yes.
like by X date, so people know, and that way,
Yeah.
like, whatever it is, the Friday before. or
By the
something.
information meeting.
Yeah, by the information meeting. Was that a hand?
No.
No? Okay. I couldn't, you're really subtle.
Although
No.
I just realized I did have something else. I'd like to do the same thing for Facebook, so maybe it's just the same people who have the front porch forum
Same stuff.
assignments.
Same, that's
Do
great.
the same.
Well, and once you do that, then if anybody sees it that's on the board, they can
Yeah,
just
share it.
amplify it.
Yeah.
Oh, the
And can we-
schools can.
Yeah, schools will.
That's great.
You guys did a great job. I follow all of you and I got it from all of you. So there actually, do we have, so we know there's gonna be some people in contact with the press. We've got people for front porch forum in every town. We know Facebook will come. And we're gonna have copies of the budget, paper copies of the budget in town offices. And we can put that stuff out on Facebook as well. You know, like, here's where you can go get this. Here's where, and if you don't have something, ask for it.
Yeah, we'll have it at the central office too.
Yeah,
You just stop
you
in.
know, yes, exactly. So that, with that figured out, we still, you want to say something too. I was going to say, we still have a motion and a second on the floor to actually bring this budget forward, right? But go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's been some confusion in the past when we sent stuff to towns and it hasn't actually been disseminated by the town clerk to the towns, and that was an expectation, but it wasn't communicated clearly.
Mhm.
So if we can make sure that is done when we're communicating with towns. And I know Brookline at least has a town listserv, which I can put this all on, or Leanne will, we can connect on that. I believe Newfane does not, if I'm correct.
We just use front porch forum.
Okay.
There is a
Yeah.
select
The
board
other
meeting.
towns,
You can,
they
any of the
have
towns that have
something.
select board meetings, maybe we can make sure that it's mentioned.
Dana, does Jamaica
Keep
have
that one out
anything of this
with,
down the server?
Rick Hagan.
You know?
Yeah.
Not that I know of,
No,
but
we know if Wyndham does.
I hide in my compound. So.
Okay, so if, Dana, your motion was to
Just reduce the
just, is, what Heidi put forth was,
Yeah.
was 15,062,658, which is down $1 from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So that was your motion.
That was my motion. Al seconded
Al
it.
seconded it.
I still have one comment if I could, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I really apologize, but
No, you're good.
I'm not sold, right? We're presenting a budget that is $1 different. The $300,000 questionable 175, this, that, and the other thing, like, that's different. It's not being presented in this budget. I don't know. I will have a hard time having interactions with my community saying, this is the budget and it's fantastic. How do I sell this to my community? That's my question.
Go ahead.
So I'm not gonna answer Michael's question, but I'm gonna say something else that's aligned with it. Two things. One is that I am also a little uncomfortable with a $1. It's feels, I'd feel better if it was $1,000 or, $500. A dollar feels like we're just didn't hear. And I heard Michael say pretty loudly earlier that our budget's too high. Now, that's just one perspective, but I don't know if that perspective is out there. So I'm not saying I won't vote for this budget. I will if this is what we end up with, but I just am putting that out there with my own sense of caution, because I feel I need to. But the second thing I wanted to say, and this is sort of related, when we make a decision as a board, whether we voted against something or whether we agree with something that the board decides, we're going to have to find a way to speak in favor if we're asked. We don't have to go out crowing about how wonderful it is if we voted no against something, but it is our responsibility as a board member to reflect the decisions that a board makes. And so we've had to do this for many, many years, and I've had to vote against things and then still go out and speak in favor of them because the board supported it. So I want to just hope that I'll just say I hope we will all find a way through that. And if Michael needs help, we should be making sure we're giving him help on how to address that.
Oh, I don't need any help. I will speak independently and represent my town accordingly. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Also, two things. So I don't know if Dana agrees, but if that is a friendly amendment, I would certainly be agreeable to 500 or 1,000. That
Give her the two. Give her the two. I can compromise.
Yeah. Or, yeah. Would you agree, Dana?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I would.
Emily, would that be a friendly amendment?
You good with that?
To a different.
I'm not making the amendment. If you're making the amendment, I support for a different number. I'm not. I'm not.
Well, I
I'm
understand
just
what you're
sharing
saying.
my concerns, and if you feel
if that would be more palatable, then I'd be agreeable to that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out where the $2,000 comes from.
I was just gonna say,
Well,
where
I
would
did-
you
I was-
tell me what's
I didn't
getting
say
done?
Board
$200.
salaries.
I said 500 or 1,000.
I think you were slipping out to, maybe it was 200, I don't know. But,
I didn't say anything about 2.
because if it was $1, I'll give you $1 right now.
What are we proposing cutting?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
If you're gonna
the,
propose
that's the
cuts, let's
question.
hear it.
Okay. Well, all right. Anyway, just
Yeah.
sorry, that was in
I mean-
response to that. But my second point is I've been doing this for over 20 years, and Emily has as well. I don't think I've ever had a budget that I've been in love with. Budgets are about compromise. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of back and forth. I would say that I'm incredibly proud of where we did end up with this. This was a challenging year. But we still retain things like intensives and other things that are incredibly important to us, to this board, to this community. So for that, I'm proud. And I would agree with Emily. Whatever we do eventually decide on, I will go out into the public and tell them why we're doing this, what it represents, and speak for the board. I don't speak for my town. I don't speak I speak for this board. We are a board. So I'll say that.
Okay.
We might have a spot.
It's not an investigated spot. I was just flipping through comparing actuals to budgets. That's
It'll
literally.
get you the $2,000 loop.
I never said $2,000. I don't know where $2,000
find
came from.
Yeah, she never said that.
I said
Never
500
said
or
that.
1,000.
Yeah.
It looks like you could get 500 on page 5, line 5811, but I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't actually pay those bills.
Dues and fees?
Dues and
Dues and fees. Do they use them?
Oh, yeah.
Page 5, up
That's
here,
usually
on the
what
top.
membership.
There's like
helps.
300 and then we've got 1,400 budgeted.
different page five? What are we talking about?
Top of page 5, second line down, 5811.
That's the science department.
Yeah, that was.
And like I said, completely random, I was just comparing actuals to budgeted.
I honestly.
Which is not a professional way to go about it.
It doesn't have
And
to
this
be.
was actuals from the last meeting where I updated the actuals. So I'm not quite sure, without going in and looking to see at the end of the year spending if it's more than that.
Because that FY proposed is.
But I see what you're saying because it looks like it's been pretty consistent.
We can make another amendment to the non-Emily, yeah, 5.
So,
And we can, no.
I mean, you could probably find something similar elsewhere, I was literally just.
We don't need to direct specific. I mean, I think it's important that we share that, but I mean, we don't line item.
The question was asked.
Agree, and I agree.
We have an answer for the public. Just dues and fees.
so then the final number would be 15,062,158.
So wait, are we stuck with the 2,000 or are we?
No,
Went with 500, okay,
500.
the 500 from that spot.
Make it more
Okay.
palatable.
Okay. Let me just
Not so,
do it
yeah,
again.
well.
Okay. All right, so we have a number. And from anecdotally, what we've heard is that it's really not as much about the bottom line as it is about we're paying attention.
Yeah.
And, we've demonstrated that we're paying attention with all the things that we're trying to do, and we're going to put into place to explore those structural changes, as well as look at the budget impact. And, we're going to come up with a budget timeline similar to what the SU budget did. I mean, we hear you, and we're going to do these things so that this makes more sense to the general public. So, you have more to say?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you were moving. Side eye. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Thanks. I guess I just want to be on the record, I guess, is saying that I don't know for sure that we are doing enough. I also don't know what else we can do in a hurry. And so I just hope that the community understands that we are really trying to address concerns that we have heard, and that it's a hard process, and there's a lot going on, and there's a lot we all need to do to regain trust and communicate better and be better stewards. And I just hope that everyone understands we're really trying here. That's all.
Thank you. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes? Yes. Okay, so all in favor of the new budget warning for $15,062,158, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Warning.
Oh, and then we need to vote on the warning. Okay.
And we took the date, right?
17. 15, yeah,
Which is
17.
point.
No.
Okay.
It hasn't changed.
16.
Okay, so then the warning would be that you want me to read the whole thing or just the things that have changed? It would be a budget revote on June 17th in the respective polling places. The one article is for $15,062,158, which is per pupil spending of $16,161, which is 0.83% higher. And then we would have to come up with a date for the informational meeting. It could be, it really comes down to 15 or 16, right?
Yeah,
16.
We have a revised meeting on the 15th.
Okay, so 16 would be much better for our administration.
Can I ask
Yes.
Can we do, I can say for certain the Newburgh Elementary School 5th grade graduation is the 17th, I'm sorry, the 16th. And I'm also wondering when the Townsend Elementary might be. I mean, I have a student graduating that night, so I
What time's
would
graduation?
like to be here, but I probably wouldn't be. I would at 5:30.
6.
I believe it's at 5:30 or 6.
I think
It's
it's
all
6.
the families who might otherwise want to attend our meeting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's
Thank
not about our board, it's
What is the
about-
meeting that's Monday?
River Valley's board meeting, so we can't have Bob and Heidi.
And it's all Townsend
Or,
graduation.
And it's
we
Townsend's
split,
graduation.
or we split, and one of us goes to one goes to the other.
Well, the 16th is
there?
Townsend's
It's
graduation, and the
Yeah,
17th
when
is
Townsend.
Newbrook's.
15 and 16.
The 15th is March.
These are 6 to 7.
We can't have our vote be on the 18th, then that doesn't work. 17th is the last possible day we can do this.
17th is the vote.
Well,
Yeah.
18th, the Townsend Town Hall's not open, so Thursdays are a day you can't do it.
Can you do it on the 11th? Do we have to do it the day before?
The
You
vote
mean-
on the 11th?
No,
Can
the
you have the
information meeting on the
early?
11th?
Like, could we have the
It
meeting?
has to be within 5 days of the vote. So 17th is your
That's
vote
not-
date, it's 11th, it's not 5
I mean,
days.
I think we need to be,
Just do it on Monday, Heidi and I will figure it out, we can coordinate with Joe and Rich and figure out who goes where.
I think,
Mondays don't work for me, unfortunately, I have select board meetings and planning commission
my
meetings.
school board meetings are.
does he know that? I must be there. Wait, so we're talking
Is
about
there a
Monday the
graduation
15th
that night?
then?
Tuesday.
Townsend, what time?
Townsend is
Townsend is Monday
Oh,
at 6 o'clock.
Newbrook is
Townsend
Tuesday at
Monday.
6.
Yeah, no, we can't. I
Well,
don't
but it's
think
right
we can have
across
a
the
meeting
street,
on
so
the
maybe parents will come right over at 7
Okay.
o'clock.
Flag Day,
Join your meeting in progress.
Sunday.
The
What time?
12th is the time, do we
What
do it
time?
on the Friday?
Wednesday.
It's done by 7, right?
this Friday?
Yeah.
I have my daughter's graduation.
Oh, okay.
She probably wants to go.
We're not gonna be, yeah, no, I was just like, well, if there's,
If we have this on one of those graduate, I don't know who we.
When is
We need-
graduation? What time?
6 to 7.
I mean,
I really wanna go out to dinner.
so the other, let me just throw this up, the other vote, so she's leaving on the 24th. So she preferred not to do a vote on the 23rd. I guess you could do a vote on the 22nd,
I think
which is a
it's-
Monday.
What about the 19th?
I think it's,
I don't know if there's a town, is Brookline open on Monday?
no, typically.
Oh, no, it's
Tuesday.
Juneteenth, we're gonna do it on the 19th.
Yeah, so Tuesday, that's why Tuesday,
But most of
Wednesdays.
the votes are good on Wednesdays anyway, so I don't think that's gonna be
Oh,
a
Yeah.
huge point of contention.
Can I vote be on the Friday?
Many people take off.
It's Juneteenth that Friday, so it's a holiday.
For some people.
for everybody. Not for me.
I mean, could the graduation's at 6?
Yep, both of them.
So
And
are we
at 7,
pushing,
you said they just walk
are
across
we
the street.
pushing it up to the
If
17th?
you did it on
because we
Monday,
think we
they
have time to
just
have
walk
a
across
vote
the street.
before
Will you
July
done
1?
in an hour?
Yeah,
No, if we wait.
We're probably done in
until
35
July and have this
minutes.
vote, we're probably going to have this.
Randy shooting for 20,
Can
but.
we
we
but I do it
encourage people to
6:45.
vote, like have our
They're out.
informational meeting, but it has to be 7 days.
I
But
mean,
is there-
people do family stuff afterwards though?
Yeah,
The graduates' families, I would expect.
yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
For 5th grade graduation.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
They're moving on to a whole new school.
Okay.
How many
I
people
just-
attended the last information meeting?
6?
In person or, we had people online, I think.
The annual meeting had more than.
I'm not trying to
It
minimize
wasn't a
the
ton.
importance of
Yep.
allowing members of the public to have a time to come. But I'm really mindful of this ridiculously short time frame we've got here and wondering whether we try to work it on one of those 2 nights when there's a graduation and do it at 7 or something, you know, and allow people, if they really wanna go to it, they can.
Well,
after
Tuesdays,
graduation.
Tuesday's better for you because of the River Valley's meeting, right? It's Newfane's graduation, but we could even do 7:30 on Tuesday to give those people time to make it if they want. And, or they
Or
can
do
do
it at
stuff with their
5.
families, or,
I mean,
One idea is to do it on Monday so that, and to really push, like, we understand that this is happening during graduations. If we did it on Monday, if you get your questions in early, we'll be able to send something out on Tuesday with all the questions answered. I don't know how quickly minutes can happen, but like, I know minutes, but so that we could give them a day, like, if people, we do it on Monday, information is shared,
we write it up, that information then goes out on Front Porch Forum on Tuesday, it can be put out on Parent Square, so it gives people time to get the information if they're not able to be present.
Could also perhaps allow people or ask people to submit before, like early too, so they can read the answers. We can read the answers at the meeting. Like if
Yeah.
people
Please send in questions
if
earlier.
people, if we can encourage folks,
Yeah.
especially if you're talking to
Yes.
press, you know, send your emails, send questions by email. They will be. We know many people are graduating. We will address questions we receive by 10 o'clock Monday or 5 o'clock Friday. We'll address them at the meeting as a way to. Not to disagree, but another way to kind of make sure that people
That's what I was
get
saying,
the.
that's in addition, yes and.
Okay,
These
so
questions are being emailed to who?
But I think we need to figure
I'll
that out.
compile them.
Okay,
Just-
so to Joe, to the chair.
Yeah, email them to the chair, that's fine. And then I'll work with you to get all the answers. Yes, Michael?
I wonder if we could do the informational on a weekend.
Not this time of year.
We're running into high school graduation if we do that, so.
Well, I understand we're running into high school graduation. We want to increase the amount of people participating in the informational meeting, so we want to be careful we don't step on that. But I think we need to be really flexible and make sure that we're welcoming to people instead of disregarding them and making them come to a meeting on a graduation day.
I don't think it's disregarding.
And I think one thing, if we could designate one person at the meeting, at the informational meeting, to be taking notes, and so the questions can be, I actually am out of town, I'm sorry, I can't be here.
I'll take notes.
Zoom in and take notes.
I am in a meeting all day.
Okay.
I'm not, I don't know, actually, I probably should just interject in this, but, you know, I have 13 fifth graders. They'll be graduating across the street. I think that if you had the meeting, they could come, if you have the meeting earlier, they could come beforehand. If they really wanted to come, they could come after, because I suspect that it'll be a longer meeting. I think that of the dates that you've explored, it seems like Monday is probably the path of least resistance. And you're also taking into account, it's not the high school graduation where you have more kids graduating, it's not Newbrook's graduation where you have more kids graduating. Like you've minimized the impact on people who have another school-related commitment. And they can still possibly come if they wanted to.
So which would be better, you think, before or after? 5 or yours is at 6, so 5 or 7.
I would say after. I just am gonna say that based on a parent who, you know, there's things that you do with your kid prior to the
Yeah, you wanna get
graduation,
there,
getting
you can
dressed
see
up. Right, you might even be feeding them depending on like the time, so.
Fixing their hair.
Yeah,
Those sorts of
There's a
things.
lot of big
Then
things.
let's set it at 7.
Okay.
And if you also give them the opportunity to ask questions and
Right.
things, and I can send that specifically to them.
That would be really great.
Right,
And
to,
share our
you know.
congratulations and
Sorry.
regrets that we have to do it at
Yeah.
the same time.
Okay, so June 15th, 7 o'clock for the information meeting.
I just want to make it clear that Windham will not be present. I have a select board meeting. Thank you.
Fiona, you said you can't be there either, right?
So Joe, has that been, now that you have those dates and times for the warning, has that been moved yet? or-
Yeah, we just need to move to approve the warning with those numbers and those dates.
I make a motion that we approve those numbers and those dates.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the warning. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right.
Can't vote.
Yeah, you can't vote yet.
I know.
We just felt like it.
Okay, we've got a warning. We need to appoint a Windham Regional Career Center Advisory Board rep.
So this is a real quick one.
What we're thinking, would you say?
The Windham Regional Career Center has a regional advisory board that has members of all the boards that send students there. So Peter had been serving in that capacity, and I'd forgotten that he was in that capacity, but the last invite came out for the meeting and his name was on it. I'm like, oh, he's not gonna get that.
No.
So the West River Board is entitled to a seat on that. If you would have someone interested, they do meet during the day. It's quarterly. It's in the Career Center. They talk about programming, they talk about budgets, they talk about a bunch of different things.
I did it for years, it's great.
Yep, sometimes they have food.
I enjoyed serving on it.
Can you Zoom it?
Yeah, I mean, I've Googled, it's Google Meet, but yeah, I've been able to join remotely at times.
I mean, that would be the only way I could do it.
Yeah, they're usually like 11 to 1 or 1 to 3. It's an hour and a half long, maybe.
I work in Brattleboro, it'd be easy for me. I could do
Well, and one of your colleagues is the chair of that.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Ooh.
Let's appoint, I'll make a motion to, pass him to the Regional Advisory.
I'll second that. They can carpool.
Wyndham,
All right.
Wyndham Regional Career Center Advisory Board rep.
Any further discussions? Seeing none, all in favor of Al as our Windham Regional Career Center Advisory Board rep, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? You're all done.
Joe,
Yes.
can anything from this agenda that's not crucial that we can push off because it's after 10?
I'm going for the record.
No, we're not going after 11 again.
But we're so inclusive. We've let everybody talk and contribute. It's going good.
If I could answer that
Can we do
question,
that? We need to do the TAN and the SEN.
I think the numbers 3, 4, and the executive session, and probably the financials,
Yes, please.
are essential.
Please.
Everything else I think could hold until your next meeting, which will be
June
July.
15th.
Oh, at the informational
yeah.
meeting. Do you want to push it on an informational meeting?
Anything that needs to get done at the informational meeting could. I
I mean,
mean,
you and I can talk about how that agenda's gonna
Okay.
go, but yeah, I would say that the executive session should happen because we need to get updated contracts out to staff.
Yep.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, 3 and 4 and the financials.
So can you walk us through the notes really quickly?
Yeah, so a tax anticipation note is, I had to prepare a cash flow statement, and the bank and the attorney that does the paperwork can determine how much we can borrow. Currently, that's $1 million. We usually need to borrow around September, the beginning of September. Now, a tax anticipation note is when you know you have tax money coming in. So I have been pushing off having you sign anything because we don't have an approved budget, so we don't know when tax money is gonna come in. And it also doesn't start until after the 1st of July. A current expense note is when you don't have taxes, a planned budget, knowing when tax money is gonna come in. Both are gonna be a variable rate due to the fact of the volatility of the federal government right now. They're not giving a solid rate. Currently, it's at 4%. The current expense note is still a variable rate, just like the tax anticipation note. I'm not sure through the bank that I can borrow up to 87% because I'm only approved, I'm waiting for a message back from the lawyer because he's only showing our cash flow as being able to float for $1 million. So I need to look into that more, but in either case, I need the majority of the board to sign off on it when we do it. The current expense note, I wouldn't ask for until July because it starts the day you sign it, and we don't want it until the next fiscal year. In either case, I won't be pulling money until we need it, which, as I said, is probably close to the beginning of September because all the funds in the bank start to run very low by the time September comes, and everything starts up again. So those are the two different notes. Any questions about any other differences? I will probably, when I get the answer from the attorney, which I hope will be tomorrow, I will also reach out to the state because I have heard that you can sometimes borrow from the state. Now, it might be the bond bank, I'm not sure, but when you have no collateral, it makes a difference. So the current M&T Bank are willing to give us a current expense note, but I'm just not quite sure on the amount yet. So I'm gonna give them our next date for a vote, which would then determine what I'm gonna be looking for to be signed in July.
Okay. So we don't need to read either one of those. Okay, so then we need to approve, if there are no questions about that, we need to approve the financials.
One point is, you could make a motion, and when I do have either note available, I could reach out and see who could come in and sign it without having to call a special board meeting.
If you're motioning to have it, if needed.
If you're approving to take out either one based on what happens with the vote, and then approve that the board who can get into the office to sign off on it so we can get it going.
Definitely gonna need one of them, right?
We're gonna, yes, yes.
So if you authorize both, then you use the one that you need based on how the vote turns out.
Or would you rather have a special meeting? Emily, you look.
No, I'm waiting for a motion that you've, out of your mouths. So, seriously,
I
I
would
wanna make
like a
sure.
motion that says, we move that the board is approving to move forward with either a tax anticipation note or a current expense note in July, and that we need the majority of the board and the clerk to sign off on it, and we're approving doing that when the documents are ready to sign.
But we don't have a number.
We don't have a number, you're right. I am looking at $1 million, but
The
it's gonna
statute
be-
is up to 80.
Okay.
So the motion could say up to 87.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's a good point.
The motion I put in here was given to us by our attorney.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't put one for the TAN, but
All right,
because that's a
motion to borrow
normal.
up to 87%.
So do we need the tan one?
We always did.
If you pass a budget,
I can
Yes.
just take out the $1 million tax anticipation note like we usually do.
which you still need to annually motion to approve.
Right,
Yeah.
and I still
So
need,
yes,
I still need the majority of the board to sign off on it.
I think the majority of the board signing off of it, on it is an easier, we'll just say the board will go in and sign,
Okay.
and we'll just keep harassing people until they can go in and sign.
Okay,
You know, it only needs to be a quorum of the board to
that's
sign.
correct. Mhm.
So I'm not as worried about that, I just wanna make sure that we're doing motions that are understandable
Okay.
and,
I think your first motion would be for the board to authorize borrowing of a tax anticipation note. And the second one would be as written below. I mean, the tax anticipation note is a normal yearly thing.
Aren't you
guys do.
suggesting we could just do one?
I'm suggesting that you do both, and that way you're covered, and you can say if needed at the end of the motion if you want. And then if you don't need
we,
one,
do-
you do.
we don't normally do a dollar amount on the tax anticipation note, do we?
No,
Or
I
we
don't.
do?
Well, I actually think you do. I actually think you have authorized me based on the amount that I have requested from the bank. I think you have done that in the past. We're taking out, to move a tax anticipation note for $1 million. That's what I think we did last year. Whether we statutorily had to make a number
That will
is,
cover the need, is what you're saying.
yes.
So it sounds like you need a motion to authorize a tax anticipation note up to $1 million to be used in the event that the budget passes and you need to borrow before the tax
So
dollars
moved.
roll in. There you go.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The second one is just as written.
I will make the motion as written here, motion to borrow up to 87% of last year's budget and take all necessary financial steps to secure a loan to be paid from the future budget and authorize the board chair to sign off on it or as required by the bank.
That last part just means you may need additional signatures.
Exactly.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we've got two.
And if Heidi says she needs signatures, we all have to run and sign.
Thank you.
Okay, so now it's pay orders. Pay order 85 for $327.48. Pay order 86 for $104,123.16. Pay order 88 for $10,548.28. And pay order 90 for $7,492.15.
And I second it.
They're all reviewed, signed off on, and there we go. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Heidi, we can push the audit report off?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we just have the executive session left.
Joe,
Yes.
this will just take 2 seconds. Can we just approve the minutes? Probably.
Oh, sure. Make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of 5/11/26 and special meeting of 5/27/26.
So this is the two-parter, and you look at the backside.
No, he's making a motion to approve the minutes because it takes 2
I'm
seconds.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'll
I missed
second.
half thing.
Okay. All in favor? Anybody want to discuss the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. All right, now it's executive session.
I just want to say, we do read the principal's reports and appreciate them, and I wish we could talk about them. But I won't hold you longer, and we appreciate you.
Thanks for sticking with us.
All of us.
I'm gonna pass this around. This is just some evidence of what happened at my school on Friday.
I sent one of my people.
I know. I appreciate that. And Joyce appreciates it.
I didn't get the whole packet. I wasn't allowed to have the whole thing.
I restrict, there she is.
So somebody make the motion. Make a motion for executive session.
Awesome.
But I wasn't sure if there was
He
was excited.
I know.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta make a motion to go into executive session or we're gonna be here forever.
I make a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. I move to enter executive session to discuss ESS contract negotiations under 1 VSA
Night, Heidi.
319A1A.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Put them in there, waiting on Friday, that's me.
All right, we're out of executive session and we have a motion.
I will make a motion to ratify the agreement on the educational support staff unit, as well as have the board chair sign.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Our next meeting is our budget information. What?
This is your wife.
No,
She's on the other
teacher.
side. Okay.
So our next meeting is June 15th. It's a budget information meeting. We'll publicize the heck out of that at 7 o'clock. Michael, you want to make a motion to adjourn, right?
No, I was just wondering what happened in executive session. I wasn't allowed to listen.
Right, because you're not a board member yet, so we couldn't allow you into executive session. Okay, so we just need a motion to adjourn. He couldn't.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the hour.